A lot of people are like, I'm getting clean to get out of the life. Well, I wanted to get clean to get deeper in. With the pills, it was just a free-for-all. The party stopped when I hit prison. People get stabbed. That's just a part of those environments. Everybody has a weapon that's available to them. If you're not carrying it, you know where to get it from.
Today's guest is Aaron Peila, a former Oxycontin dealer who spent 5 long years inside Victorville Federal Penitentiary, one of the hardest prisons in the United States. Aaron ran a massive multi-state oxy ring during the peak years of the opioid crisis, with distribution cells in Nevada, Utah, Idaho, and the Pacific Northwest. He finally got taken down and sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, with his first stop at USP Victorville. Aaron takes us inside the life of an inmate trying to survive the deadliest prison in the country. The insane gang politics, the yard removals and the race riots, the drug dealing and the hustling, and the corruption that exists throughout the Bureau of Prisons. It's wild to think that institutions like Victorville still exist in America. I really enjoyed this conversation. Aaron is as authentic as they come. Check him out on TikTok at Aaron Peila. And for more content, head over to patreon.com/TheConnectShow. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy shined throughout this conversation. Aaron Peila, right here on The Connect with Johnny Mitchell.
I think if you do your prison term right, like you cultivate that hunger and drive and discipline like most people won't understand. You know, a lot of people are in there running from the world that they helped create through getting high. You know what I mean? And that was never me. I'm like, that, bro. Like, I'm not going to be that dude. Mm-hmm. Like, the party stopped when I hit prison. So, you know, it's maybe a little too, like, militaristic for some people, but I'm, like, stuck in that. Like, no, I got to figure this out. Like, I'm going to go to bed at this time. I'm going to wake up at this time. I'm going to eat at this time. I'm going to, you know, figure everything out in between there. And, you know, a lot of people can do that. Like, you know, I think the gratitude when you're stripped of everything and you come back is on a whole nother level. You're just like, life is great.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You see through brand new eyes. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Wow. See, I mean, 14 years, you just hit the bricks. You've been home a year and then you just got out of the halfway house a couple of months ago. Yeah, that's insane. I mean, I was in prison in 2011 when you fell. And so, and that seems like worlds ago. So much has changed in the world.
Oh, it's night and day. Like, I get out and just the social cues, the atmosphere of the world. I'm just like, what the why is everybody so sensitive? And why is everybody acting all weird? And why are you dressed like that, bro? What the are you doing?
Yeah, what is Uber in your case?
Right. No, all that. It's just like, it's a whole different place. So, like, my girlfriend, she kind of, like, I'm watching TV the other night. I'm like, why the because I rent this basement studio. They're watching the football game upstairs. Like, I'm used to, like, you turn on the TV, you watch, like, what everybody else is watching in the house. I don't know about streaming services. I don't know this. So I'm like, why the can't I watch the game? Like, what's going on? She's like, well, did you set up some streaming services? I'm like, what the is that? I don't know what that is.
So were you really that isolated from the outside world? Because I know in the feds now, you know, everybody's got smartphones. A lot of people are trading stocks in there. People are obviously moving drugs in there. Did you get updated information through, you know,
well, I think
the internet
phones,
while you were in prison?
Really what happened was when COVID happened, it changed the game in prison. A lot of people quit. They didn't want to deal with, like, the lockdowns, and it was just too much for them when they're used to just turning a key and letting you out at 6 a.m. and then locking you back in at 3 o'clock for count, letting you right back out. And then at 9, like, all of a sudden they have to deliver trays. They have to go collect the trash. They have to let you out for showers. They got to do all this. They were quitting. So they just had to hire anybody. So a lot of these people, like, coming from other countries were getting jobs, and they're like, oh, you want to pay me $8,000 for a cell phone? Like, so all of a sudden, cell phones just flooded the system, like in 2022-ish probably. And so the last couple years of my bid, like, there was phones everywhere. But before that, it was just really like camps, lows. Like, it was real rare. Like USP, you might get a drone drop every now and again, or, you know, FCI might get like a camp package over the fence, or, you know, it was just a different game.
So after COVID, these new immigrants that they were hiring were a lot more corruptible.
Oh yeah. Well, you just walk up on them like, bro, are you trying to make a couple racks right now or what? And like, they're with it. Like, it was crazy.
That's
like,
dope.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
No, I mean,
Are these
what
mostly
I don't
Mexicans
understand, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, like mostly those two, but you'd see some Africans and shit.
Yeah.
I just never understood it. Like, everybody's got cell phones. They want to talk to their people, and you guys won't give us video visits. Like, are you guys that slow?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Give us some video visits. We're away from our family across the country.
Yeah.
Like, the federal system ships you everywhere. Like, of course people want to see their loved ones. Like, you know what I mean? BOP, they're stupid.
So $8,000 to get a phone in?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a smartphone. Smartphone's 8 racks. You can get like a little thumb phone for like 2, you know, just, it doesn't have a screen. It's just, you can talk like this. They're crazy, you know, but.
And are people renting that out? Like, is that a hustle? Like, hey, you want to talk?
Yeah.
It must be, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's a great investment.
It's like $1 a minute, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, people buy
It's like the
phone.
90s.
Yeah.
It's like long distance in the 90s, right?
It's like the brick phone.
Wow. Wow. That's fascinating. Okay. So you're a San Diego kid.
Yeah.
Did you run? So you have Mexican heritage,
Right.
but did they consider you a white boy in the feds?
So it was a crazy situation for me because, I worked in the music industry. I like rap music, you know, with all races. Like, you know, in the streets, that was never a thing for me. I didn't judge people off of any kind of racial lines. Like, the only color that mattered to me was green. Like, let's get this money. And then I get to prison, and the first thing that they ask me is, who do you run with? And I'm like, well, I mean, I guess I'm white, you know what I mean? Like, I guess I'll run with the whites. So, like, once you commit to whoever it is, like, that's it for the rest of the way out. Like, you can't switch teams. So, you know, that was it for me. They put me in a white cell, you know, and then I go to the feds. I see people that I was in state with, you know, so, you know, I'm from there on out. That's what it is. It was definitely a different dynamic because I would have people like, oh, these. Like, I had this one cellie, he was showing me pictures of like Carrie Underwood, Miranda Lambert, and some other chick, and he's like, there's only going to be 0.2% of Aryan pure women left in 5 years and this and that. I'm like, bro, shut the up. My mom is Mexican. I don't give a you know what I mean? You're talking, I'm mixed race. Like, you think I care? Right. Like,
we're still doing this?
Right. It's that like, and then you got people, you know, they want to use the N-word, and it's just a way of acceptance. They're like, if I say this loud, people will look at me like, oh, that's our brother. You know what I mean? Like, that's the type of you deal with in there. Everybody wants acceptance, you know, and then you have gangs approaching you. And like, I had one high-ranking gang member like, hey, you know, whoop to whoop, join up. Like my mom's Mexican, bro. He's like, no, she's not. She's Hispanic. She's Spanish blood. I'm like, you're not going to convince me of what the I am. Like, you know what I mean? He wanted me so bad to just be like pure Aryan blood. He's just, you know, this skinhead, and they're maniacs, bro. But
yeah, they take prison real seriously.
Yeah.
This was in the feds, or was this in the state?
Yeah, this was in the feds.
Okay. Tell us about the hustle, how it went from like weed to pills to
just the
rap.
Evolution.
Yeah, the evolution of it.
Okay. So when I was selling weed in high school, I mean, it was just a normal thing. Like, I'd take it in the backpack. You know, sometimes girls would hold it for me. I just sell bags, sell sacks, just ounces, you know, little shit, right? It was never really a big deal. But I just liked the money, you know? It was just little money, spending money, whatever, just a little high school. When I ended up leaving home and going to Utah, because my buddy, he got kicked out of the state as juveniles. They said, if you come back, we're going to arrest you. So he was in Utah. So I got into I was on probation. I got into a fight. My PO had already been on my back telling me, look, if I got to arrest you again, you're going to state's custody. We're taking you out of care of your family. We're putting you in a juvenile prison. So I get in this fight, and then I go to school on Monday, and he's there. So I knew it was a wrap. I'm like, it's over with. At that point, basketball was like the most important thing to me. So in my mind, I'm like, I go to state's custody, basketball's a wrap anyway. Like, so what the am I going to stick around for? I go home, I pack I go to Utah. I call my buddy. I'm like, hey, I got to go. He's like, you're welcome here. Go to Utah. Well, he's already down there. He's already pushing weight. He's already doing his thing. So, I jump right in with him. Like, okay, what do you need me to do? Let's go. Like, let's get this money. So I'm doing that. He ends up going to jail. I pick up where he left off. Like, I already knew his plug. I was doing my stuff. Somebody approaches me with like a heroin deal, and I'm like, I don't know shit about it. You know what I mean? Like, put me up on some game. And he's like, well, it's a double up every time. Like, I'm like, okay. And he's like, and I got coke too. Like, I could show you how to move this too. I'm like, all right, well, let's check it out. So I start doing that. Then somebody else approaches, look, we got this ecstasy. Like, we're going to Vegas. We're moving boats. Like, this is the price. This is what you can get. So just by having interaction and always being a dude about his word, you're going to get respect and people are going to put work on your plate. So it just, everything started coming. And I had my hands in everything. Whatever I could get my hands on, I was pushing it.
And you knew how to get off like heroin? You knew where to sell it?
Yeah, Utah's a crazy environment because it's such a religious atmosphere. I think it suppresses a lot. So when people find that freedom and they break away from that somewhat, a lot of them go buck wild. And there's a lot of money in Utah. Yeah. So it creates that atmosphere for a lot of addicts. And then I think it nurtures it because then they get that guilt. They're like doing drugs, their families shun them, and then it pushes them farther into addiction. So there's a lot of issues out there. But so that was that. And then I started hearing like doctors, oxys, people talking about that, just like in whispers. It wasn't like a major thing at that point. Yeah. That was maybe 2003, 2004-ish probably. Yep. So I started middlemaning some, like, okay, I know this person, but it wasn't really my bread and butter. I'm just like, doing my other stuff. So I end up going to jail. I do the year because I caught a case. My first case, it was a weed case, possession with intent. So I'm going in and out. At this point, the heroin is kind of overtaken. I start dabbling in that. So I'm getting addicted too at the same time. So when I would get out of jail, I'd go right back to it. My PO was like, oh, you got to check in. Well, put your running shoes on. I'm not coming in. And I just hit the ground running.
Absconding.
Like, right.
Like
They'd catch me. I'd be like, terminate me. I don't want to do this. I'm not going to do it. I refuse. And they would give me 6 months, let me back out on probation. I'd do the same thing. Finally, the last time, he's like, I get it. I'm going to give you this year and terminate you unsuccessfully. I'm like, okay, cool. So I do the year. I get out, but I have the mentality like, okay, that was a hindrance. I'm not doing that again. Like, I'm putting that behind me. But then the pills were blown up. So somebody comes back into my life like, hey, you got to check this hustle out. So we go out, have some drinks, and he lays it all out for me. I'm like, bro, like, I've been putting pounds in the trunk. These things stink. You know what I mean? Like, you're telling me this amount of pills is worth what I got in the trunk, Yeah. And I can carry it legally? Yeah. You're going to give me a license to carry this?
A brick of tan heroin. Right. It's like the stakes are way lower.
Right. And you got a prescription. Like, these doctors are loose, so you can carry it wherever you want. So it's a no-brainer. Like,
so he showed you this is what oxys are. Right. This is what Roxys are.
Right.
Can you tell us what those are the two main opioids that people wanted back then?
Yeah. So in 2010, the ingredients changed. So up until that point, it was all oxys. That was the main thing. Roxys were like an afterthought. They were like, yeah, whatever. Those are cool. But you got the big boys, you got the green monsters. We want those 80s. So, that was the major thing, was the 80s at that time. Everybody was going to these loose doctors and getting them. You could get a little camp together and send them all to the doctor, buy all their prescriptions, and do your stuff. That was really the movement. It kind of changed everything. And like I said, I had a prescription, so I was legal to carry this. I never had to worry about it, getting pulled over or any of that. So it just made it a lot easier, a lot less hectic. You know, when you deal with addicts on all levels, every drug has a different caliber of addict. So, you know, when you're dealing with heroin addicts, coke addicts, weed addicts, you know, it comes with different kinds of drama. Well, for whatever reason, like the pill game, it wasn't, even though it's the same type of addiction as heroin, it's a different caliber of person. It was like a lot of middle class, like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's a lot less headache too. You know, you're dealing with like professionals and, you know, people who kind of somewhat have their lives together on the surface, but they're still addicts, you know? And I think maybe the doctors cultivated that because they gave them away so loosely.
For sure.
They were so cheap, you know? So just normal everyday people ended up getting addicted and had to turn to the streets because they would run out or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So you would, in a way, you kept them off the streets for longer because they could come to you. If a doctor cut them off, they come to their dealer now.
Yeah. I mean, eventually I think all that turned to, I think that's probably what cultivated what we got going on right now.
For sure.
You know, I missed all that. I was in prison, but the fentanyl, you know, it probably all stems from that, you know, getting cut off and then having to go to the streets. And then they changed the ingredients in 2010. And then from there, a lot of it just goes to heroin and fentanyl. Mm-hmm. So it probably all started stemming from those issues.
I think the dates track because they stopped making it so easy to go to a dummy doctor. I believe around the same time that Chapo started sending bricks of fentanyl across the border when he would send the heroin or the cocaine. So it was like perfect timing.
Yeah.
In those days, tell us about how you grew the pill game. Like, would you send out teams of people to different doctors and
yeah, so like the pill game was a lot different in the fact that with those other drugs, it was like, okay, this guy is the connect. You know, he's who you go to. He's going to be your sole guy. You work with him unless something happens. Either he gets locked up or you find a better deal. You know, a lot of times they'll match it anyway. Like, no, I like how you do business, you know. But with the pills, it was just a free for all because you have doctors over here, over there. This guy already has a whole camp going over there. He's trying to get him off. You find out the doctor, so you want to send some people there. It's just, you know, it's the wild, wild west in that way. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just not one avenue to get these pills. Like you end up having your hands all over the place just trying to grab as many as you can get. So
the problem was not having enough.
Right. No, for sure.
And it's not like a batch of cocaine or heroin. They're different qualities. It's Roxy's or Roxy's, I believe, right? Like they come from the mills, the factories, this basically the same.
Right.
Uniform. It's a pharmaceutical.
Right. No, I think, you know, when they started pressing their own and adding the fentanyl, you know, that a lot of shit up too. Mm-hmm. But, you know, when you were getting it like that, people knew what they were getting, you know.
So how did you scale up? How big did you get?
So I just followed the pills. At the time, Vegas was a hot spot. You know, I was running hot in Utah. I had to get out of there. I ended up keeping my house in Utah and then getting a condo in Vegas. So I would just be back and forth. But I started spending most of my time in Vegas just away from what I had going on there. And there's a big retirement community out there, you know, government funded health insurance, all that. So you could get everything for cheap. And that was where a lot of people on the West Coast in those retirement communities, they were getting oxys from there. So I was just down there figuring it out. You know, you're a hustler, you're going to make contacts and connections, and that's just what you do. So being in Vegas, I was able to, you kind of overtake people. You know, it's just like in the corporate world. You walk up the corporate ladder. Well, when you're in the streets, when you're in the drug game, you do the same thing. Like there's people, you may be getting some from somebody, they're flawed in whatever their game is. And you can see it. Eventually, you're going to overtake them. Their dude's going to come to you or, you know, you might find their plug somehow on accident. Mm-hmm. But you just start leaping over people. Mm. getting more and more because people know they can count on you. They can call you and say, hey, I got this. You ready? Yeah, absolutely. Let's roll. You know, so that's kind of how that works. Eventually, you just get more and more and more because people know you're reliable. You're about your word.
So you're wholesaling now to dealers.
Right. So at this point, you know, I end up just shipping them out. I got people, you know, my indictment is like 6 or 7 states wide. So I got people all, you know, Alaska, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada. I think those are the only ones on my indictment. So that's the only ones I'm going to speak on. But I got people in all these states. You know, how am I going to get them? I'm just going to ship them out. Like, that
FedEx.
was the thing. Yeah, that was the thing because they can't be smelt.
Mm-hmm.
So you just ship them. Or I would ship them all into one person and say, hey, look, you're going to distribute this for me. Keep a record. And they would just keep a record. Everybody would come in, pick up what they needed. It was just like a central office or whatever.
Wow.
You know, they would handle all that. I'd fly in, count it up, go over the books. Okay, everything's cool. Boom, here's yours. I'm gone. I'll ship you another package. So I would just handle it like that. And then every once in a while I would switch it. Like, okay, you know, I think it's time to move somewhere else, move on. So it was just, you know, trying to play the game, cat and mouse, you know, trying to be one step ahead.
So Vegas sounds like it was like the Florida of the West Coast in terms of like how easy it was to get pills and then shoot them into different markets.
Right.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, for sure. A lot of people, because I came out to Florida a few times, just like to go to Disney World, to go to Miami for New Year's. People are like, oh, you're going out there to pick up? I didn't realize like how big it was in Florida, you know, but everybody like assumed that that's what was going on. I was like, no, I'm just out here hanging out, you know what I mean? But Florida was the spot on the East Coast. And so I figure, I don't know that Vegas was on the same level, but, you know, there is a lot of retirees in Florida too. So it's probably about, you know, similar in that way.
What did the amounts look like? Like how much were you shipping to all these different markets at a time?
I mean, I don't really want to go into the numbers on that level.
Is it like ecstasy, like boats? Like you sell them 1,000 at a time?
No, you get a bottle is 180. Like, so you get them off the shelf from pharmacies or whatever, however you're getting them in 180s. You know, so you could get 7-8 bottles at a time pretty easily from different people, different sources, you know, and it just depended on and where it was going, how many I needed. Like I said, I had people in different states that were pumping different numbers. So, you know, I was always able to keep up.
Today's episode is sponsored by Hims. You guys know about Hims. They are revolutionizing men's health. They are disrupting the healthcare industry. I not only use Hims products, I actually have money invested in Hims stock. Check it out, you guys. According to the National Institute of Health, as many as 30 million men in the U.S. experience ED. At least 30 million cannot get a rock hard piece, and I am one of the 30 million. Bet that. I and everybody I know. No more rock hard pieces, dude. Way too many chemicals in the food. Way too much plastic ingested. It's not happening. I need a pill. Come at me, dog. Hims has my back. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Using Hims, you can access personalized prescription treatment options for ED like hard mints and Sex RX plus climax control if prescribed. They even got climax control pills, dog. So you can get a rock hard boner and you can last more than 45 seconds. Yes, please. Hims is revolutionary. You don't have to go see a doctor anymore. You don't have to pay a copay out of pocket. You can do it without insurance. You can get prescribed online and have your medicine shipped to you discreetly right to your door. And remember, these generics cost up to 95% less than the name brands. You can get it on the cheap. No more going to Tijuana for your ED medicine. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/connect. Once again, that's hims.com/connect for your free online visit. hims.com/connect. And here's a little disclaimer.
Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan. Featured products include compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription is required. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information.
What does your profit margin look like? A bottle of pills for 180 pills. You have them. What are you buying them for? What do you give them to your people for?
And that would depend on where they were going. Because, I mean, if you're shipping up to Alaska, you're going to get a hell of a lot more than if you're just shipping one state away to Utah. You know, so every state around the country has their own prices. And that's all dependent on how far away you are from the source, you know, just like every drug. That's why the farther you get away from the Mexican border, you know, the prices inflate, you know, so it was similar to that. It just depended.
What does Alaska look like?
Alaska's crazy. And I never understood it because I never went up there. I had somebody else go up there and check the scene out. And he would call me and be like, bro, you wouldn't believe like the amount of money these people are up here spending on drugs. I'm like, where the do they get this money at? You know, he's like, well, like the conditions are just so harsh. They have to pay people a lot of money to be here.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be here. So there was a lot of money up there. And I didn't even realize it at first. So the dude that was selling for me, he was cleaning house up there. And I'm like, he's like sending me pictures of all of his toys and shit. I'm like, what the you got going on? He's like, bro, you wouldn't even believe it. Because as fast as I could give them to him, he was getting rid of them. And he was just killing it. And I didn't even know, like for the longest. I'm like, what the?
Time to raise my prices.
Right, time to send somebody else up there. I raise my prices. I got to get in on that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Alaska was crazy.
What did one oxy sell for up there?
Some places,
like hundreds of dollars.
It was over $1 a milligram in some of those places up there. You know, in Vegas, you know, you're getting them at the pharmacy for $9 or whatever, or you know, maybe 15 from somebody who has a whole bunch of people going for themselves, and then you sell them for 30, 35 or whatever. I mean, these dudes up there, $100 or whatever. It's just crazy. I couldn't believe it.
Markup is insane.
Yeah.
Wow. So a guy like somebody in that market is like tripling their money.
Yeah.
It's like better than Coke money.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on where they're getting them, you know, because some of them might be getting it 4 or 5 steps away from the pharmacy. Some of them might have connections right into the pharmacy, you know, so it just depends on who you are and what you got.
So were you sending dudes to different markets and saying, hey, go set up?
Yeah, I would try and get a feel for what was going on in an area. Like, okay, check this out, you know, see what's going on. This is your baby to sit on. You know what I mean? If you found this and found it lucrative, like, let's get you up there. Let's get you set up. Let's figure it out. And we would go like that.
Tell me about a market like Wyoming.
Wyoming is one of those states too that's like, you know, because it's rural, a lot of those rural areas that didn't have like a huge Mexican presence, like, you know, that the oxys is what was feeding it. And they had money too. So there wasn't a lot to offer people in those areas. So they turned to pills, a lot of them, and they paid top dollar for it because there wasn't any other option.
Yeah, that makes sense. What was another crazy market?
I mean, anytime you're up by the like Canadian border, all those states are definitely, they got some money and they don't have a lot of options. Like I said, so the inflation was a lot more.
You mentioned
the
Idaho.
Dakotas, you got Wisconsin, all those, Minnesota, all those states. But yeah, Idaho too, you know, it's rural out there. It's far from the border. But in those smaller areas, you got to be careful. You know what I mean? It runs hot quick. So
you would heat up an area, and then when you felt like it's time to leave, you would just get that feeling like, oh, okay, it's getting hot. We've dumped too many pills. We got to move on. Or would one of your cells get knocked and get arrested?
A lot of the times that's what it would be. You know, dudes would get popped, or they would something up, or, you know, I always had kind of a relationship with my people that, okay, if you something up in a way that wasn't in your control, like, you know, because there's rules to the things that you do. If you're doing it the right way and something up, like, you know, I got you. But if you're out there doing some dumbass shit, driving around drunk or whatever, you know, because people do that, addiction, alcoholism, it plays its part and all this shit. You know, you're kind of left to fend for yourself, but, you know, I always had a heart and still trying to help. Like, you know, you're locked up. Well, your family's got to eat. You know, I'm going to try and help in that way. But what you got going on in there, like, if you did that to yourself, figure it out. But, you know, I'll help, like, your kid's mom, your family, whatever it is, you know, things that you were taking care of while you're out there. You know, I'll do that much, but don't call me. You know, don't ask me for nothing. Like, don't make me hot because you were out there up. You know, so that was kind of always an understanding that I had.
Did you feel like the DEA was starting to come after this like it was any other drug, like it was coke, like it was meth?
No, I never really got that feeling. When I got busted with that weed case when I was 20, they said to me, they were like, look, we've known about you selling weed for a while, but the minute we heard about you selling heroin and coke, we had to come get you. They kicked in a couple doors and just found weed, but they were after the coke and heroin. Mm-hmm. So, like, I knew that was, like, a target, you know, and that was why I tried to separate myself, like, oh, they're not playing about this shit. Like, I don't want nothing to do with it. I never really got that same feeling until maybe about a year before I got locked up, and I started to get some heat. There was a state cop. I mean, he'd been trying to get me for a while, but he was taking it personal. He was like pulling people over, asking about me. Where's Aaron? How can I get him? I had an attorney that I had hired kind of just in case, you know, if somebody gets popped, like, I need you to go there, you know, tell them shit's cool, they're going to be okay, whatever, you know, make sure they're not cooperating. And he got one of my guys, he got him pretty good, and he was screaming in his face, like, where the is Aaron at? And he was pissed. So, like, you know, that was, like, kind of a wake-up call in some ways. I remember looking at, I was stressed out. I remember looking at flats in, like, London, like, I'm going to get the out of here. You know what I mean? I'm starting to trip at that point.
Did you realize that, oh, shit, they could charge you if they really want you and they identify you as, like, the kingpin, they could charge you for pills the way they could any other Schedule 1 narcotic? I
didn't understand the depths of it. I really didn't.
I think a lot of people didn't at first.
No, I talked to my attorney and he was like, oh, no. And this might sound stupid. You know, he said, the worst that's going to happen, you know, 10 years, you're going to get out in like 7.5. And I'm thinking in my head, like, I think I can live with that. Like, I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? Like, I kept going, you know, but I didn't understand the levels to where they could take it with, like, federal enhancements, you know, a RICO case. They have all these other things where a mandatory minimum, if somebody dies on the case that somebody sells to, that person is liable 20 to life. So there's all these different things that I didn't know, you know, and he didn't put me up on game. I'm just like, 10 years, I'll do 7.5. Okay, whatever. Like, I'm gonna keep going.
Did you have any deaths like that in your case?
There was 3, and luckily, for whatever reason, they wanted to pin that on me. I had nothing to do with any of them. And they tried to get the people who were there or who were involved to tell them, no, I got the pills from Aaron, and those were the ones I gave to them when they passed away. And none of them did, even though they all told on me. For whatever reason, I think their conscience ate at them enough that they were like, I can't do that to them. And they didn't, you know.
Thank God.
And I lucked up on that because they put a lot of bullshit on me, but that was one that they couldn't, and they wanted to. You know, I definitely consider myself lucky in that aspect. You know, you just don't think about the unintended consequences when you're going through that shit.
Of course.
And that's a major one.
So now you're killing them. You're in Vegas. You're making money like crazy. Tell us about the beat making and the rap and shit like that.
Okay, so
you look like Vanilla Ice, so nobody's gonna be surprised when we say
you
that
look
you're
like Vanilla Ice. Yeah,
I do.
Yeah,
thanks, man. I appreciate that.
So in 2006, when I get out, I have this goal in mind. I'm like, you know what? I had an older homie that started a clothing line. He was semi-successful with it, and I saw that. I wanted to emulate it. I'm like, let me start making shirts, hoodies, hats, doing all this stuff, right? See where it goes. So I'm going to like hip hop clothing stores. I'm going to skate shops, just people in the area or whatever, getting my clothes into their stores, and they're cool. Yeah, you can put it here on consignment, whatever. We'll sell it, take a little cut. So it was cool. But when the recession hit, nobody was taking on new brands. So I was able to maneuver a little bit. I'm not sure that I mentioned it. So I had the opiate addiction. Well, when I got out, I was clean for about a year. I started dabbling in the oxys, and I started taking a liking to that. So I decided I'm going to put myself into rehab. It wasn't court ordered or anything. I just needed clarity of thought. It was just one of those things. More or less, I felt like this was holding me back from taking my game to another level. And, as up as that is, bro.
That's some G shit. So you wanted to get clean off opiates so you could improve your opiate dealing.
So I could
fire.
A lot of people are like, I'm getting clean to get out of the life. Well, I wanted to get clean to get deeper in. You know what I mean?
Doubt.
So that was how my mentality was. Like, this is where we're going with it. So I look into rehabs. I find one in Tijuana. One of my dudes had actually gone there. He linked me up with it. Most rehabs at that time were like 20 racks or something like that. This one was like 12. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going out of the country and it's 12. Like, let's roll, He didn't tell me what it was about though. I go down there and it's like in Tijuana. It's in like Playas del Tia. It's in a mansion, right around Tijuana, up in the hills. And they sit me down on this bed and they're like, watch this DVD or whatever. So I watch it and it's like this ceremony in Africa. They're eating this root of this plant and like tripping out and falling over and shit. I'm like, what the is going on here? And like, yeah, this is ibogaine. Like, you're going to have visions. It's a psychotropic, but it's going to clean you out while you're under this like psychosis. And like, it's going to be a great experience. I'm like, let's roll, like, see where this goes, I'm just a dumbass. Like, what the my phones aren't working. I'm like thinking, well, they might steal my kidneys while I'm under, what I mean? I might wake up in a bathtub of ice, but let's roll, So I do that. I get clean. But while I'm at the rehab, one of my dudes sends me this song and he's like, hey, you got to check this artist out. Check this song out, right? So I listened to this song and it's about getting clean from opiates. It's this artist, his name's Haystack. So I'm like, damn, that's fire. Like, I like that song. So I start looking into more of his music. I'm like, damn, he's got some shit, So I look him up on social media. This is after like 2 days of tripping. I'm trying to like, I don't even know what the reality and what fantasy is at this point. I'm trying to unscramble my brain, but I'm on social media trying to come up with my next business deal, I'm like thinking in my head, like, okay, if I can get this artist to do some shows for me, I can get him to wear my clothes, I can set up a merch booth, I can sell clothes at these concerts. That's the move. That's what I'm gonna do, right? So I get out of the rehab, I contact his people, I call, it was a crazy situation. He had a 13-year-old kid running all of his social media shit and his booking shit, but I call, his name is Snap. He actually owns an artist management company. He does real well now. He's older and shit, but he's just a 13-year-old kid at the time. I'm like, yeah, I want a ticket on 3 shows. He's like, what do you have? What's your idea? Like, what's your plan? What do you mean? I'm like, well, I'm trying to do Utah. I'm trying to do Vegas. I'm trying to do Idaho. He's like, okay, cool. Let me call you back. So like 10 minutes later, I get a call, and it's the artist. I can tell because he has a real distinct voice. It's like scratchy, you know? So I know it's him. It's Haystack. I'm like, what's up? We start chopping it up. I'm like, this is my idea. This is what's going on. And no, he kind of laughs or whatever. Not sure how serious he took me, but he gives me a good ticket on 3 shows. So I do the 3 shows, but when I'm doing these shows, I have a lot of people that are hitting me up like, hey, let me open for Haystack, like over here. Then I get involved, I get involved in like a concert with The Game, then like Paul Wall. And so like I have all these things and people are coming to me like, let me open for these artists. So of course, me being me, I'm thinking, damn, how am I going to profit off of that? I'm like, okay, I'm going to start my own label. Because if one of these artists pops because he's opening for these shows or something, I need to get some of that money too. So I get the label going. At the time, Stack's leaving his label. I'm buying up studio equipment, thinking I'm going to open a studio, I'm going to do all this shit. And he's like, well, let's just come together and work on a project. You know, me and you, I'm leaving my label. You're starting your own label. I said, all right, I'm going to come out to Nashville. I'm going to talk to you. We'll figure it out. You know, we'll sit down and chop it up and see what we can do.
And are you moving pills at this time?
Yeah, I'm still in the streets.
You're in the streets, but you're clean.
Right.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm on hyperdrive. Yeah. You know, I'm doing it. I'm whatever I can do. You know, I'm out there. So I get out to Nashville. We come to terms on a deal. It's like a 3-album deal. No, at the time, it's just the 1. So we do the double disc album. So I'm going back and forth, going to studios out there in Nashville with him, going back to Vegas, you know, still running around in the streets and shit, but I'm making this music now with him. That album is released in September of 2010. So I sign a distribution contract with the company out of Memphis. So they do all the distribution. They release it. At that time, it's hard copies. You know, it's a totally different game. The digital shit was just barely coming into fruition. So, you know, my contract, I lucked up because the digital shit was really non-existent. And the part that I got paid for the digital shit was nice in the contract because they never really counted on that lasting. You know, now everything's digital. But so I lucked up on that contract with them. But we ended up doing that project and then coming to terms on 2 more. But me and him develop a relationship. Like, this is my guy. He's my son's godfather. Like, when my son's born a few years later. But those albums, they've never come out yet. So the 2 albums that I'm still owed are unreleased. Whether or not I get those, we'll see. Only time will tell. You know, it's a situation with him that I hate to be the guy to be like, bruh, if the roles were changed, you would have walked out of prison and had your shit. I would have made sure you were getting money 8 ways if you sat in there for 14 years. You know, everybody's built different. So I had an OG tell me in prison, you can't expect everybody to react or act the same way as you because not everybody is you.
That's it.
You know, so don't hold everybody to the same standard. You know, if things come your way, it's a blessing. But at the end of the day, like, you have to keep pushing forward. You know, you just do you.
So you were charged on top of all the pills with laundering, I think, what, $3 million?
Yeah.
Were you pushing drug money through the record label and through your merch line?
So what it was, I mean, anytime you have money laundering, it's just basically converting money into digital. And that's how they racked it up. They took like green dots. They took, what was it that Walmart used to use sending money? What was it?
I mean, Western Union.
So long. Western Union. Oh, MoneyGram. So there was like MoneyGrams. There's Western Union. There's bank deposits. You know, Green Dot. There was all these different things. So they just accumulated all that shit And that's how they came up with the figure for the money laundering. So
they didn't actually seize $3 million.
No.
It's like with drugs. They estimate, oh, you were doing it for this long, so this is how much you would have made.
Right.
It's all guesswork.
Right. And so people ask me about that shit. I'm like, how the am I supposed to know? Like, I mean, what do you think? I had like a record book at home that I wrote down like every pill I ever sold. I don't know how accurate it is. And it's a shitty deal because on my case specifically, they had people talking about what I was selling to other people who didn't really know. So you're going to tally up all of these drugs from people who weren't there firsthand to witness it, but that just gets slapped on there. So, I mean, who's to say like the accuracy of their numbers? I have no clue. You know, it was when I was fighting my case, it was to the point where it's like, look, you're going to trial or you're taking this deal. I fought for almost 3 years, had sleepless nights, had my pride get in the way a lot. My attorney telling me don't cut your nose off to spite your face because you're going to go away for life, 40 years at least. Do you want to sit in there and appeal this case for, the next 25, 30 years? Or do you want to take this deal and maybe see your son graduate from high school and, you know what I mean, become a man? Because when you take deals, you look at it through the lens of all the losses. What will I be able to catch up with? How many losses can I take? And what's life going to look like through that lens of another 10, 15, 20? So for me, the biggest thing was my son. How old is he going to be? Because everything else is just, it's a wash at that point. You know that. I had some good advice, people telling me, just let it all go. Whatever's not God-given was never yours to begin with. The clothes, the money, jewelry, all of that shit is meaningless. Sis will always be sis. Pops will be pops, your mom, brothers, and especially your son, and I had to look at it through that lens. It was a bitter pill to swallow.
Of course. How did they originally get onto you?
So there was an investigation in 2007 that didn't go anywhere because it was for one of my friends passing away that was referred from the state, and the feds didn't pick it up. But then right before I went to prison, because I went on a pistol case, it wasn't related to the drug case, somebody else that I was dealing with, he ended up catching an investigation. So me and him were linked in 2007. So I think because of that, they knew he was an associate of mine. So when they started looking into him, my name came up. Well, I went to prison. So it was like, okay, you guys are probably a little too late. I'm locked up.
Right.
But for the first year, I was still moving product because I had set it up like that. Like, hey, if I go to prison, you know what to do.
How were you moving product in prison?
Just because I already, the infrastructure was set up in a way that I could walk away, because I always said, if I'm dead or in prison, this is what needs to happen. When my son was born, that was a big thing for me because, I didn't want him to go without, and I wanted my kid's mom to be set up in a way that she didn't have to rely on another dude or be desperate in any type of way that she did something drastic. I wanted them to be secure and safe.
So what was that infrastructure? You already had people that would go source the pills, and then they knew where to send them? Right.
So
can you go into detail?
I'll brush over it. My buddy, he cooperated against me. So, there's really not much to hide on it. But at the end of the day, he was my closest dude. He knew all my people. He knew what to do. I'd taken him around to, the people that I dealt with. And I just let him know, this is what it is. I'm going to leave cash at the house or whatever. Make it happen. I don't want to have to call you and say, hey, why aren't you over here? Any of that shit if I am in prison. Because I had a sentencing date coming up.
But how are you getting the pills? You got to at least give me that. How are you sourcing? Who are your connects? Like, are you going straight to the doctor, or are you dealing with a middleman that gets them from the doctor?
So like I said, there was multiple avenues. You know, I had people who had people going to the doctor. Mm-hmm. I had people who were going to the doctor. So everybody has people going to the doctor, but it's never enough. So you find other people who are going to dirty doctors and have a whole bunch of them, and you get theirs too. So you just, as many sources as you can get. Yeah. That's what you're doing.
So the network must be insane.
Yeah, there's just, I mean, it's people all over the place, and there's multiple doctors. So when you're in an area like that, that's a hot spot.
Right.
Like, you're able to network and find people. And, you know, if you have the cash, like, they're going to come right to you. They don't want to deal with fronting it out or the bullshit of middleman. Like, they know they can call you like, hey, I got X amount, meet me. Okay, cool, I'm there. So,
and the clinics weren't getting raided at this point. They weren't getting shut down in Vegas.
There wasn't anything crazy like that going on. Like, you didn't hear about it.
Okay.
You heard a little bit about like this doctor or this office shut down because they had too much going on, but you weren't really hearing about indictments yet.
Not like, the way you were in Florida.
Right. No, it was rare. There was like a couple doctors that I remember getting indicted, but it wasn't like a regular thing.
Okay. Not like with Jason, for example, our mutual friend who's been on the show.
Right.
Those guys were so federal. They were so flippant with it. It was like you pull up to a drive-through window and they give you like, you know,
well, he was like
a century supply of
he was
pills.
Interviewing people off Craigslist, doctors and shit. You know, he was like, he was on
they
a
were
different
like,
level.
Yeah, he was like the doctors from The Simpsons, you know, like barely. I mean, it's a joke.
Right.
Some real Florida shit. So Vegas sounds like it was a little more professional, a little more buttoned up.
I think they had to put on a better face. Mm-hmm. You know, I think for whatever reason, Florida was so loose. You know, they didn't, I don't know, just some backwoods hillbilly shit or what. I don't know what they had, but they didn't give a you know.
Okay, so you are the guy that was just ready to buy from whoever came at you with work.
Right.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. Guys, I want to tell you about my favorite new clothing company, Rag & Bone. I'm wearing Rag & Bone right now. High quality, plain Jane clothing that looks great, feels great, and basically has me geared up for winter. Rag & Bone is built with premium materials and craftsmanship. I like the jeans, personally. The wash on these jeans are amazing. They make my butt look great. They make my skinny legs look kind of thick. I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect for dressing up. It's perfect for going casual. I love them. They really put like some design into this. You know what I mean? They've got experts. They've been backed by 2 decades now of making jeans, making cool guy shirts, making me look great. And these clothes are meant to last. I've owned Rag & Bone clothing for years now, and I don't have to throw them out. They maintain their look. They maintain the softness of the fabric. I can put them in the wash. I can even dry them and they don't shrink. This is high quality haberdashery, folks, okay? And their Infused collection offers a range of fits tailored for any style and occasion, from slim and straight to athletic and relaxed. And once again, their jeans are my favorite. The Infused collection has made-to-last quality you notice the first time that you put them on. They feel premium, they look sharp, and you can tell they're meant to be long-term wardrobe staples. So you buy these, you don't have to go buy more 6 months down the line. They're the only clothing company that I've had that experience with. And Rag & Bone doesn't just make your new to-go denim. They've perfected everything from buttery soft tees and elevated essentials to jackets. Their jackets are fire, and knits that put your whole look together. It's premium wardrobe staples made to last and made to live in. It's time to upgrade your denim with Rag & Bone. For a limited time, our listeners get 20% off their entire order with code CONNECT at rag-bone.com. That's 20% off at rag-bone.com with the promo code CONNECT, CONNECT. Once again, that's 20% off at rag-bone.com with promo code CONNECT. And when they ask where you heard about them, please support our show and let them know that we sent you. Guys, these are great holiday gifts. These are clothes made to last a lifetime. Go to rag-bone.com and use code CONNECT and get the best, most comfortable clothing you will ever wear. So when you first went down, it was over a pistol.
Right.
Can you tell us about that real quick?
So I go, you know, I don't usually just have a pistol on me, but this dude beats me for a decent amount of money.
What do you mean he ran off?
No, this dumbass, I just had a party at my house. I had a bunch of pills packaged up in Skittles bags, just sealed up in my pantry, like not thinking anything of it. And this high ass goes in there, is rummaging through my pantry and finds all these pills and takes them and thinks that like, I'm like, nobody's gonna know or something. I don't know, you know what I mean? So he takes all these pills. I end up tracking him down. He's kind of hiding out, but he's got to be able to get rid of them.
Right.
He, you know, so he has to put the word out like, hey, I got these pills. So he puts the word out, and I get him. I get him at a house. He thinks he's gonna sell them all, and I get back like a good portion of them. You know, I go in there like, bro, you really thought you were gonna just like steal all my shit and I wasn't gonna find out? Like, give me my shit, you know? So they're short or whatever. He calls me like 2 months later because I'm like, you still owe me too. You know what I mean? So make sure I get my shit. But I'm not pressing him. Like, I got other shit going on. It wasn't enough to really like, you know, just whatever. I got shit to do. He hits me up and I'm like, he might be trying to set me up now. So I go grab my pistol. I go and meet him at the bar. He gets in the car. I got my little brother with me, and he hands me all the pills like nothing. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I didn't expect that, but yeah, like it's a good day. You know, my little brother goes in the bar though. He's like, I gotta get some cigarettes. Next thing you know, he comes out and he's yelling my name. So I'm like, what the f-? So I jump up out of the car. I walk over there. I still got it in my waistband. He's like, these dudes are in here talking shit. My little brother, he gets me into like all this bullshit all the time because, you know, he's drunk, and when he's with me, he's 10 feet tall and bulletproof. So he's out there just you know. So he gets me in this shit with these dudes. I go into the bar. They're sitting at the bar. I'm just like, what's up? You guys got a problem with my brother? Like, what's the issue? And they get up, start acting crazy. I'm like, cool. I'm going in the parking lot then if you're trying to see me. So I go to walk out of the bar. I can see their reflection in the glass as I open up the door. So I go to turn around to swing, and one of them tackles me, and the gun flies out. So we start fighting. Not for too long, but we're fighting. They're kicking the shit out of my brother. I can see that. There's like 6 of them and 2 of us. Finally, I'm just like, all right, because they're screaming, we're calling the cops. I'm like, all right, we're going to get out of here. You know, they stop. Well, I start looking around on the ground because I'm like, where's my pistol at? You know, like, so I'm looking and one of them grabs it. You looking for this? I'm like, no, I've never seen that in my life. He's like, yeah. And he pulls out a badge. He's like, sit on the curb. So I'm like, I'm now, you know, I already know it in my head. So the cops, I think the cop shop was like 3 or 4 blocks away. So they're down there immediately. They put me in the back of the cop car. They take me into Clark County Detention Center, downtown Vegas. They book me for the gun. And I bail out immediately. I bail out in the morning. I fight that for like 2 years. I don't want to take probation. You know, I got a good lawyer, pay him good money. In the state, you can beat a lot of shit, you know, with some good money.
Yeah. You're obviously still hustling while you're out on bail.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So it took them a minute to indict me for some reason. They indict me stateside, not federally. So it takes like 8 months. I don't really know why, but I bond out. I'm just like doing my thing. My lawyer's just like, I haven't heard anything. You know, I don't know what's going on. So I don't pay it any mind. I'm still just running around doing my stuff. I think my kid's mom, she gets pregnant maybe about a year after that. Well, when she gets pregnant, I mean, it kind of puts things in a different perspective. You know, I'm like, now I got to think for 3 people. You know, I got to figure out something long term. And she's telling me just take probation. And I'm like, F that. Like, they were in the wrong, you know, my stubborn ass. Like, they followed me into the parking lot. Like, why am I being held accountable? You know, just the dumbass shit you convince yourself of when you're in the streets. You know, even when you're in the wrong, you still feel like you're in the right. Yeah. You're the victim somehow. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But that's not the case. You know, up. I eventually take that deal. It takes about 2 years. I take the deal for probation. The judge isn't happy about it, but I got a good deal. I got a good lawyer. You know, they got the prosecuting attorney to agree to it, and he goes with it. Well, they tell me in the courtroom, he says, look, I don't know why you're getting this deal, how you're getting the deal, and I don't care. But if I see you again, you're going to prison. And I'm like, okay, well, when am I going to see a PO? He said 3 weeks. He said, you have 3 days to check in to get orientation done. They'll give you the rules and regulations. I'm like, cool. So in my head, I know, okay, I got a shotgun at the house. I have it there for home protection because I travel. I want my kid's mom and my son to have that there when I'm gone. When I go to orientation, I'll find out, like, what's the rules and regulations. So I go in there to sign up. They pull me into the back immediately. They cuff me up. They go through my phone. They go out to my car. And then they say, we're going to your house. I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, like, damn, is there a way out of this one? And there isn't. And it's wide open. It's right out in the open. It's just sitting in my office. So I'm like, so I just tell them, I'm like, look, there's a shotgun right out in the open. I don't want you guys to freak out. It's just sitting there in the office downstairs. You know, I was planning on getting the rules, you know, if Jade could have it in a safe. Like, I wanted to have it there, but I didn't know how I could have it there. I was hoping there'd be a way. And they're like, oh, all right, yeah, no worries. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, I'm not sure if I even bought it, but, you know, that's what they're telling me. So they go in there, they search the house, they find that. They said, we got to take you in. You'll probably be out in like 3 days. I'm like, all right. That was the last time I ever saw freedom for 14 years, wow. You know. My son is sitting there in his crib. Wow. My kid's mom is crying. I asked the PO, you know, can I kiss my son goodbye? They're like, yeah. So my kid's mom holds him up to me. I give him a kiss, and that's it. That was it right there.
Well, you didn't obviously know, though, because there's no drugs at this point right. in any of the case. Were these the feds that cuffed you up at the probation?
No, that was my state probation. So
okay.
The feds weren't involved yet. When I went to state prison, so I go back in front of the judge. He tells me, I told you, if I see you, you're going to prison.
Right.
So I'd never been to prison before. This is 2011. He sentences me to 19 to 48 months. So in my state prison.
For gun possession?
Yeah.
Just simple gun possession?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ex-felon in possession. So,
right. Ex-felon in possession. Gotcha.
Right. So I go in. It's eye-opening. You know, High Desert State Prison out of Nevada. It's like 30 minutes outside of Vegas.
Is that the one you pass like right after you cross state lines driving in from California?
No, that's the other side. This one is on the north side. So there's, what's the one over there?
That looks like a up one. You know what I'm talking about? Like after you pass like the theme parks and shit.
Down.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I think they closed that one down, like just because it was gladiator school. It was up. Yeah.
Okay.
So High Desert's on the north side, and then there's Indian Springs next to it. So everybody in the Nevada system on the southern side of the state filters in through High Desert. They have the intake and processing there. So I go there, and it was, you know, musclehead steroided out, you know, just these cops that,
yeah,
you know, first thing they do is beat somebody's ass right there in front of everybody. Like, you know, just put on a demonstration. Yeah. You know, I go through the booking process. They want to know, who do you run with? They tattoo check you. You know, they want to know everything about you because there's a lot of activity on that yard. Like, we can't put rival members in a cell together. You know, and then a lot of that shit from the streets bleeds into prison. It's just part of the politics in the game that's played. So I go through that process. They put me into, they call it the fish tank. I go in there. It's like a 45-day observation. I feel like they just try and drive you mad just to see what you can withstand. Like, oh, okay, we're going to classify him over here.
Right.
Like, you know, he's up or whatever. Like, we just drove this dude crazy, so we'll put him with the crazy dudes. So I'm in there for about 2 weeks, and then they call me out one morning, early as like before breakfast, and they're like, roll your shit up. I'm like, where am I going? They said, we don't know anything. Just roll your shit up. You're going to R&D. I'm like, all right. So I get my shit together. I walk up to R&D, and they're like, you got a marshal hold. You're going to the federal courthouse. So in my head, you know, I don't know what to think. I'm like, what the f-? Like, I'm thinking, is this drug charges? Like, is everything finally catching up with me right now? You know, because we all have those feelings in the gut of our stomach when we're committing crime.
And how long had you been pushing pills at the level that you had been at this point?
It'd been about 4 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's going to come crashing down eventually.
Right.
You know that, you know? So I go in, they take me downtown, they indict me for the shotgun. So I'm like, okay, could be worse. You know what I mean? I'm facing 1 to 10 in the feds. I don't know what that means, but that's what my indictment reads. So they take me to a federal holding facility. I'm there for about 11 months. You know, I get duped by my lawyer, who I pay because I'm used to dealing with state. You pay your lawyer, you're going to get a good deal. In the feds, that's not how it is. You can pay whatever the you want. The feds have all the money in the world. You can't fight it. You can maybe get a trial lawyer or whatever, but for the most part, they're going to push you into a deal anyway. They just want to go home. They just want your money and go home. So I signed this deal for like 36 months or some shit. Well, the judge doesn't go by it. He's like, no, I'm giving you 46. We f***ed up. That deal was a guideline range that you weren't even in. So I'm giving you 46 months, and you're going to thank me later because this is going to help you in the long run.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, the f*** if I am.
Almost 4 years for a shotgun.
Right. Unaltered, just sitting at the house, not used for anything. You know, I just, like, that never registered in my mind. Like, this could be the consequences of that. Like, I didn't understand that. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I was naive or just I could convince myself that, you know, shit really wasn't what it was. But, you know, 46 months, whatever, I took it on the chin. That was tough. I remember, you know, there was only 3 times in my whole bid that I cried. And that was one of them because I went to sleep thinking about my son growing up without me. And I remember crying in my sleep to the point that it woke me up. So that was a tough moment. Like, okay, like, this is reality. 46 more months.
And what a bullshit ass reason too.
Right. No, it was, you know, I've always been one to take accountability. Like, I'll take responsibility for me. So I knew I did wrong, but like, the level that they put it at and the extent was just like, damn, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. Like, you know, it's just the federal system, the punishment is just so heightened in comparison to any state facility. You just don't realize it till you're facing it. But so they sit me down for that. I go back to the state. I wait about 10 months to parole to the feds. The feds, when I parole out of the state, they pick me up. I go to a FCI. I'm there in Phoenix. And it's a nice FCI. Like, prison sucks, but I pull up and I'm like, what the f-? Like, these look like apartment buildings. There's grass, there's palm trees. I'm like, yeah, this shit. I just came from razor wire and dirt and gun towers. So, like, this don't look too bad, you know?
Yeah, and they're getting all kinds of shit in.
All right. So I'm like, you know, I don't want to, like, glorify prison, but compared to where I was at, like, you know,
they make it comfy for you in the feds because you're going to be there a lot longer.
No, for sure. That's what it is. So I'm there, and while I'm there, I start hearing about indictments being unsealed and all my guys getting indicted. And I'm like, what the f is going on?
And you're still running shit? Like, you're still making money from pill sales on the outside?
While I was in there fighting my case, it started to unravel. So I just ended up telling my dude, like, hey, it's a wrap, bro, because you guys are f***ing this up. So, you know, I thought we had a good thing going. Then I tell him over a phone call, I say, look, liquidate the clothes, make sure that the contracts are all sewed up, and walk away. And, you know, he ends up telling the feds, like, that's him speaking code. So when he cooperates, because they don't have me on any controlled buys, they don't have me on a possession, they don't have any of these things, but they end up with him saying, that's Aaron speaking code. And that was like, you know, really the only thing. I mean, the feds don't need much. They really don't. But that was like the only thing that was like semi-tangible that they had, where I was like, he's going to get on the stand and listen to this recording and say this. You know, my lawyer's telling me this. So, you know, that was probably about 8 months, 10 months into my sentence. So at this point, you know, fast forward another year and a half or whatever, nothing's been going on. Like, I've been away from the game, away from the streets. I pretty much cut everybody out of my life. I'm just talking to my kid's mom, my family. Like, I don't think I got much to worry about.
Right.
Like, because I know these people are still out there doing the bullshit that they were doing. If they catch heat or they're doing something, that's on them. Shit doesn't have anything to do with me. I mean, it doesn't work that way. When they got their target, you know, when they want you, none of that shit matters. So they're indicting people. You know, I see a couple of the indictments. My kid's mom ran into somebody who had some of the discovery. So she reads it. She comes out to visit me. She's stressed out to the max. You know, I'm trying to calm her down, like, relax, you know, but in the pit of my stomach, you know, I think I'm burnt. And
are you the target this whole time as you're sitting in prison for the gun case? Do you think the DEA and the U.S. attorney is putting together all of these witnesses and these informants to rearrest you? Or is that just something that comes later? Like, was it just random that all these 30 people on your case got busted and then pointed the finger at you?
See, at the time, I felt like that's what was going on, but I didn't have anything as far as proof that showed that. It was too much of a coincidence. You know, you got all my guys wrapped up. There's something more to it. You know what I mean? You're not just going to leave me out of it. Like, you know, I just couldn't imagine that being the case. So I was just sitting in there waiting for it, really. You know, maybe.
Well, maybe though, because look, you were the plug. You had all these workers. The workers give up the plug.
Right. No, that's just the way it works.
Yeah. That is the coincidence.
Right.
It's if you're in the street long enough and then you're not there to supervise them, they're up. You know what I mean?
Right.
And yeah, they get popped, and turns out of 30 people, 27 cooperated.
Right.
Against you.
Right.
Now, did they have another plug? Maybe.
I think the game goes on. You know what I mean? When the plug goes to prison, it doesn't stop. People don't just say, "Oh well, he's gone." So I guess
and they don't tell on just one person.
Right. I guess I'm hanging up my jersey too. Like, I'm out of here. You know, it doesn't work like that. They find other sources and they continue to do what they're doing. But when the feds go to them and say, "We don't give a about this. This is who we want."
Okay.
They're going to say whatever the they have to.
I see. Right.
So, you know, if they're out there doing dirt and they get caught for it, but they have it out, and this person, you know, because I did help a lot of people, I'm not there to help anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not really that guy. You know, I'm just some dude in prison now. Yeah. It was a real easy decision, I imagine.
But it sounds like her name was kicking around the feds for a while. If they went to these guys and said, you looked in their phone and said, "Who do you know? Who's one of your guys is Aaron from Vegas." Okay. Yeah. We have him as a known, you know, oxy trafficker or whatever.
I think it was targeted. I think it was more strategic. I think they knew, because they knew the associates. So when the one dude caught heat, and his name came up as associated with me, there was other dudes that came into play. I knew of another guy who had got busted on a state level, and the feds tried to talk to him, and he had let them know. I only knew this because I knew somebody that worked at the jail that told me, like, hey, the feds were in here talking to this dude. So when I called him on it, he said, yeah, they came down, but I told him, there's no way you're going to let me buy anything from you. But I'm sure he said, yeah, he sells pills, but I'm not going to be able to buy anything from him. So they already knew, like, most of my inner circle. You know, we all ran around together for a lot of years. So it was like, it wasn't that hard to put those pieces together. So my indictment was 3 separate conspiracies. So they indicted all these people in these separate conspiracies. And then mine was the last one that was supposed to tie all the ones together. So all these people, they had already told, like, the whole game. They'd already let them know everything, how it went down, every play. Like, they knew everything, you know? So there wasn't much at that point because there was so much telling. I think the only thing that wasn't clear was amounts, because there was just so much bullshit, extra bullshit thrown in. But at the end of the day, they don't care about that. You know, they get enough people to say something about you. In a conspiracy in the feds, hearsay is allowed. So, you know, a lot of people aren't clear on that. They think, well, you have to get caught, or there has to be corroborating evidence for all these things. Like, no, you can't challenge a conspiracy because hearsay is allowed. So these people are allowed to say these things without any kind of evidence to back it.
Lying is allowed.
Oh, yeah. No, it's encouraged. So,
yeah, it's very anti-democratic, very anti-constitution.
Yeah, I mean, you hear a lot of people say they're going to look into it. It's called ghost dope in the feds. Everybody's in there for it. You know, nobody got caught with anything, but they had enough people telling on them. Yeah. So they call it ghost dope because it doesn't exist. They don't have it in their possession.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so they came and rearrested you when it was time, when they had their case. They came to FCI Phoenix.
So I'm there. I call my kid's mom. She picks up, and the DEA's at the house. So I'm just like, you know, here we go. Like, this is kind of what I've been waiting for. And sometimes I think, like, damn, did I manifest that shit? But, you know, I think it was coming regardless. Unfortunately, she didn't have anything to do with it. So she was more or less a bargaining chip. You know, she has my son, the most important thing to me. And they knew that because they'd been listening to my phone calls for, you know, since the day I stepped into prison. They take her in. She tells me, it's been like 3 days. I'm outside on the yard. I'm playing basketball. I actually bump heads with this Southsider. We're just playing one-on-one. So anytime you have an injury, you know, you have to report it because they're like, oh, well, if they see you have a black eye or something, they're going to question you, you know. So go up to the LT's patio, report, you know, why your eyes split open or whatever. So I go up there and they're like, oh, yeah, we were just looking for you. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, we got a visitor for you. I'm like, was kind of waiting for it. You know what I mean? So
not you have a visitor. We have a visitor for you.
Right. No, for sure. One of those ones.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm already like, you know, that feeling in the pit of your stomach when you have something life altering happening and you have no control over it. You know, I'm walking around with that knot already. You know, 3 days ago, the DEA's there with my kid's mom. So I'm just waiting for it. I walk in there. They leave me hanging for maybe like 30 minutes, and then they come in. They give me the spiel. You know, they do the regular good cop, bad cop shit. You know, one of them is trying to empathize with the fact that I have a son, and, you know, we didn't go in guns blazing, and, you know, we tried to respect you on that level. And the other one's like, I don't give a about you and your kid, and you know what I mean? Just a straight dirtbag.
Crockett and Tubbs.
Right. So I'm just, you know, and I'm up, so I'm in my head just like kind of laughing, like, bro, you're not playing an elementary school kid. Like, you know, I know what you're doing. So I just tell him, I'm like, look, bro, I respect what your job is, you know, but respect me as a man. I don't got nothing to say to you. And, you know, of course, the one that's being an asshole is like, well, your lawyer's going to tell you to cooperate anyway. And they run it down. We want your dude in Vegas that drives this car. We want this dude Haystack that you make music with, you know, like they call it the, what the f did they say? He said something. I'm like, is that what the kids are calling it?
So they wanted, hang on. So they wanted you to tell on people that were working for you or that were just associated with you.
Yeah, just associated with me. They just always want a bigger fish. You know what I mean? They always want another headline. They always want, it doesn't matter who it is. And I think it's a notch in the belt. Like, okay, we flipped this dude.
Right.
I think that's what it is more than anything.
Okay. Because the pills are, when you're pills, you're getting them from a doctor. It's not like cocaine. You're like, there's always somebody bigger, all linking it all the way back to Mexico that you could flip on. Right. Like, who are you supposed to flip on when you're getting the small amounts from so many different people? Right. You know what I mean?
I think with the doctor situation, there was a couple doctors that were like associated with my case that ended up getting time, not because of my case, but like just throughout, like, you know, oh, this doctor got indicted like a couple years before and this one a couple years before. They don't give him very much time though. No. That's not really like, for whatever reason, that's not a target for him. I don't know why, if it's
the source.
Yeah, you would think, you would think that would be a big deal, but like they don't really get too much time for doing it. No. So, you know, I don't know why they want the street dudes a lot more than them. I don't know what it is.
Maybe it's because you had guns and then they just group that with violence. Right. Like that's what they salivate over is a bunch of drugs and violence. Right. So maybe that was it. But basically it sounds like they were just trying to get you to tell them anybody you knew.
Right.
That they hadn't collared yet.
Right. It's a notch in the belt. You know, I think they can laugh at you when they walk away. I think they respect you on some levels, though, when you don't flip.
For sure they do.
I think there's that.
For sure. I saw it with my own, too, man. Yeah. I saw it like, I was like, man, if I tell right now, because I had a plan, I was going to like throw out a bunch of fake names and shit. Right. Like I just needed like a day. I tried to bribe the cops because they didn't have the LT there yet. They didn't have anybody and I was sitting there with hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was like, just let me run for it. Say I got away. Like go send your kids to private school right now. Right. Don't be dorks. Right. You know? And because I could tell like they want a piece of your soul. Right. They want to reduce you to it's really like sadistic. Right. They want you to become a child and it's like, oh my God, you're my savior. Right. It's perverted. Right. So yeah, when you stand on business, they're not happy, but they're like, all right. Right. He's a criminal. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think as men, you know, we hold value in that, in having some type of honor and integrity. So I think on that level, they respect it, but they want your boy. They want that soul. You know,
they want your soul. Yeah. I mean, and that is what the government does ultimately, because they give you a bigger sentence. Right. They give you a bigger sentence for going to trial, which is your constitutional right. I mean, think about that. Think about how sick that is. So this is my right for doing it, but you're going to punish me. This is my right. Everybody should be allowed to go to trial and, you know, have the guilt put on them in front of a jury of their peers without threat of more sentencing. Right. Part of the reason they do that too is because they can't, if everybody did that, the system would be
it'd fall apart.
Yeah. It'd be they don't have the resources. Right. They're arresting so many people all the time.
You're supposed to be able to look at your accuser too. Like that's another thing. You know, we don't have that right. You know, so everything is just muddy at this point. The system is coming apart. Yep. Like it's not being used for what it was intended for, and the product coming out doesn't fit the bill that they're paying for it. It's just, I mean, there's definitely layers.
Well, they're mafia laws. They were put on the books for a good reason in the 70s when the Italian mafia was literally running New York City. Like bribing everybody, getting away with murder, getting away with tons of extortion, bid rigging, the way that they get away with it in Italy. And it the society up.
Right.
So I get it. They had to make these conspiracy laws because they knew they could never get the heads of these huge organizations.
Right.
They were never dirty.
Right.
But now it's just used to abuse drug traffickers.
Right. No,
You know?
and they just
Very unfairly. And it ropes in a
Right.
bunch of people that get time that they don't deserve to be doing.
right, and they get the accolades and the pat on the back and the promotion and you're so awesome at your job,
Yeah.
and they get all that shit, the ego stroke,
Yeah.
and that's really all it is. Like those laws were meant for a totally different purpose than
Yeah.
what it is.
The end is coming, though. The end of the way we treat drug abuse and the drug market, it's coming to an end. Next, 50 years is my prediction. Yeah. It's going to be with the end of fiat currency, and we're going down a long road here. But this is, the government is going to have to, a lot of the government's just going to naturally dissolve once we restructure the economy to where everybody is using either Bitcoin or everybody is, I don't know, the healthcare system's going to change. They're not going to have a reason, we're going to have to slash a lot of this unnecessary shit. This is my prediction.
I mean, I think AI is going to play a part in that.
Big part in that.
I've been watching since I've been out here. I mean, I've been gone 14 years. And
Yeah.
just seeing the small bit of evolution that I have, I'm like, holy, the efficiency that it can produce.
Mm-hmm.
If AI gets wrapped up in our government,
Yeah.
it's going to be
Right.
you got to cut this, you got to cut
Right.
that. This is
Exactly.
bullshit. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I feel like that's definitely going to play a part too.
And it'll probably cure drug addiction. I hope. I mean, it could. People could say, well, if nobody has jobs, people are just going to do drugs. But I'm hoping.
Let's hope not.
I'm hoping
Let's hope not.
it could actually get really bad. So,
right.
But okay, so you tell them to go have a nice day. You're not interested. They rearrest you, and then how long are you fighting the indictment? Because you think about actually going to trial.
Right.
Think about going to a federal
I push
trial.
them, I'm just spiteful, prideful. I turn it into a game in my head that these people are just trying to break me. They want to see me just ground to dust. They're watching me at every moment. And I just try to stay as strong as I can and just keep saying that I'm not signing this shit. We're going to trial.
What were their offers initially?
They would never offer me anything. They said, you have a 20 to life. That was it. And finally, 20 years, not taking it. That was their deal for a long time, was just the 20. And then it came to 15. And I thought we had him. We went to a James hearing, and I thought we had him in that James hearing. They're supposed to weed through all the hearsay. The judge makes a decision on what hearsay they're going to allow in trial. And I felt like it went really well, and they came back with that was when they came down to 15. That was when they finally came off the 20. But I still wasn't hearing it because everybody else in my case had walked. They basically let everybody go home to tell on me. Wow. There was only one dude got 4 years. And that was it, basically. Everybody else got a year. Just none of the females got any time. They all got, so there was one female on the case. She stood strong and got 4 years. All the rest of them just got probation. They cooperated. Everybody else just basically got a year, except for the one dude. But, in my mind, I'm like, I'll take responsibility for me, but I'm not taking responsibility for these idiots getting caught, shit they were doing when I wasn't even around. I'm in prison. I'm not taking responsibility for all this other shit that they had going on too, because throughout the case it came out they're not only getting pills from me, from other people. Everybody has, it's just a free-for-all. Mm-hmm. Everybody had their own shit going on. So, in my mind, I just felt like it was bullshit. I was just really being stubborn. And then at the end of the day, these are my guys, and I'm like, they won't do it. They won't stand on that stand and point the finger and say he did this. They won't do it. There's no way. But I knew in the back of my mind I was convincing myself of some bullshit. They were going to. You know, it was just me, I guess, trying to justify, you know, getting that trial set in motion. And these people, I'm going out in a blaze of glory. Like, we're going to see, you know, when it all comes down, who's standing. But I knew I was a lot of sleepless nights. You know, I got a good hairline, a lot of losing hair. Like, it was, you know, I'm in the shower just like, my hair's falling out.
Yeah, that's the saddest thing.
Nah,
it's what kept me calm in prison. It's my beautiful hair.
Yeah. Nah, and then you start having nightmares like my hair's gone, my teeth is falling out. Like, you know what I mean?
I used to get like patches. I would wake up in the morning and there would just be like round circles in my beard, just of hair missing.
Right. No, it's what it does.
Crazy.
Just the stress, it just kills it, you know? So I fight it for almost 3 years.
And you're in county jail while you're fighting it?
County. The dust, bro. That county food, the commissary, I haven't seen the light of day. I look like a vampire.
Yeah, sucked up.
I'm up. So.
And you must be spending a ton of money on your lawyer.
So I learned my lesson on that first one. The lawyer didn't do anything for me.
Right.
I spent all that money and he didn't do shit. So I'm like, I'm not spending any more money on attorneys.
With the federal public attorney, right?
I'm spending money on commissary. Like that. So,
and those attorneys for the feds are good.
Yeah.
Those defense lawyers.
No, they were, the one that I got, she was badass, bro. She, you know, they said to me, they said, you might as well cooperate. Your attorney's going to tell you to anyway. I get up there and she's gung-ho. So these people, you know what I mean? She was not with it. So, she would come in every week. She would bring me books. Like, you know, she would send me the discovery. We would kick it. She was cool as like, she was not just a good attorney, but just a genuine human being. And to have that kind of connection, because everything that I heard and everything that I saw, I was so distrusting of everybody. Like, I didn't with anybody in there. I was just like on my own time. I had a couple people I was cool with, but like, I didn't use the phones. My family would do video visits every now and again. But for the most part, I knew I had to ride it out on my own. I didn't want to put anybody else as a target because I made a phone call to say hi to somebody or whatever, see how somebody was doing. So I just wrote it out by myself. But she helped me a lot through that time, and she was super cool. You know,
so when did you finally make the decision, like, oh yeah, actually, if we take this to court, all these dudes, my workers, are going to show up and testify against me?
I knew it. Like I said, I was convincing myself of some bullshit, but it was about 2.5 years in, they finally came down to 12. And I said, you know, I sat there, I thought about it. I'm like, okay, my son, he was only 6 months when I left. You know, so I'm staring at it through that lens. Like, it's all about how old is my son going to be and how much damage is this going to cause. And I felt like, okay, I'm going to be out as he turns into a teenager. I can be there, you know, to help him develop into a man. Like, that was important to me. You know, I already missed all the other firsts, you know, school, riding a bike, all that shit, you know, and that shit wears you out too. But that was how I looked at it. I'm like, okay, I can live with this. Let's sign this 12 years, get me back to prison. I'm over this county. Let's go.
And you'd already been in 4?
So I signed that deal. I get sentenced in November of 2016. So at that point, I've been in 4 or 5 years.
5 years. Okay, so that's obviously time served.
Right. So my other sentences were already done.
Yeah.
Like, I'd already maxed those out, plus like 7 months or something. So now those are done. I'm starting on whatever the new sentence is going to be, which ends up being 12 years. So, you know, the feds, they don't run concurrent with other sentences. It's always stacked no matter what. So I tried to push it for concurrent or credit for the time I've been in. It's no dice. They don't care about that shit. So it's 12 consecutive to the 19 to 48, the 46.
Right.
So it's just stacking it all up.
That's brutal.
Yeah, so, that's a gut punch.
But you at least get time for being in county, right?
Just for like when that sentence,
from the time your
6 months
ended and the overlap when you were in county, just that little time you get time served for. Okay.
Right.
I don't trust the people doing the math either.
No.
I don't trust these state bureaucrats who make $20 an hour to do the math right.
No, trust me. I'm in my sentencing computation looking at every day. Like I need mine.
Yeah, for sure.
But I couldn't find any discrepancies. I wish I did, but so I get sentenced. I come from Phoenix, from an FCI, from one of the nicer FCIs in the country, So I tell the judge, hey, will you recommend me back to Phoenix? He's like, yeah, I can do that. It's never a guarantee, but I'll recommend you to Phoenix to do the RDAP program because I want you to complete a drug program. So I'm like, cool. So he puts me in for Phoenix. I go in through Pahrump because that's like the West Coast hub for the feds. They ship me out. I go to Pahrump. I'm there for, I think, just that first night. They pull me out, and they're like, time to catch the bus to Victorville. I'm like, okay. Well, it's a fucking compound. There's 2 FCIs there. There's a females camp, and there's a USP. So it's a roll of the dice. We'll see where I go, right? Mm-hmm. For whatever reason in my mind, I'm like, you're going to the USP, but I'm trying to like hold it together. Like, nah, you're going to be good. You're going to the FCI. Like, quit convincing yourself of that shit, right? So we pull up on the compound, let the females off, pull up to the next one, the FCI 1. They call off a bunch of people. The tension's getting a little thick, They pull up to the next medium, call off the rest of the people. There's only 5 of us left. I look around and just everybody looks like they've seen a ghost. And I just start talking a little bit of shit and busting balls because, in that type of situation, I'm up a little bit. I got to laugh. Sometimes you got to laugh not to cry. You got to cut that tension. So I'm like, boys, here we go.
And obviously you've been in the feds. You knew the reputation of USP Victorville.
Right.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of heinous shit that's gone on there over the years. The federal system's a small community. What happens on one side of the country, gets to the other. It's like that little game that kids play, when you whisper in the
telephone,
ear. Right. By the time it gets over here, there was 300 bodies. It looked like that movie, just massacres and rivers of blood. Like, who the knows, I don't really believe anything I hear. So we get there. They take us through R&D. They tell us, you got to see SIS. You got to see a case manager, medical, all these different things. So 2 of them tell me, SIS and case manager, they say, are you good to walk this yard? Yeah. Do you have skeletons in the closet? Did you cooperate? Do you have prior charges? No, I'm good. They said, well, you better because we're telling you right now, there's no protection for you out there. When you get out there, it's on you, and your people are going to find out, whoever you run with. So you better make sure. And I'm like, let's go. I'm good. Like, I'm not checking in. I don't got anything bad on me. I'm going to go out there and figure this shit out.
So you don't have to be affiliated necessarily.
No.
They just say, hey, are you going to get killed for being a rat or having an enemy?
The case manager tells me, she's like, oh, it looks like you only got 26 points. I think at the time, 25 is USP or whatever. She's like, you're just 1 over. You might be able to get out of here in a year and a half. And then she's like, who do you run with? So I'm white. She's like, oh, never mind. You're not getting out of here. I'm like, why is that? She said, because it don't matter what your age. You're putting in work. I'm like, the case manager. I'm like, God damn, here we go. Like, what the are we doing? So,
are you blasted out yet?
That's my introduction.
Are you all blasted? And
probably like half of my work is street work, half of it's prison. So I have like my sleeve right here.
So you look like a white boy. Like you look white, but I'm saying like when you were in there, you looked like a gang member.
I don't have any political work, so you know, they tattoo check you and shit. They look at your jacket to see if you have any kind of association or affiliation. I didn't have anything following me. But the one thing that people get confused with, and I have a lot of pushback on my TikTok content, is that when dudes come from a state system into the feds as gang members, there's a sense of entitlement because they run the show. In these state systems, they're the guys. You know what I mean? So they give out orders. You know, they have the power, the influence. You know, that's just the way it's been ran in all these state systems. When you get into the feds, it's not like that. So people get confused because I say I'm an independent white, but they don't understand that independent whites in the feds are ran as if it's a gang. So nobody puts their hands on an independent white without the rest of the independents jumping. We have our own politics. We have to put in work. We abide by certain things, but we don't take orders from gang members. The gang members have their own cars. We have our own cars. If there's a racial issue with somebody else, we come together as one. But we're not one unit necessarily because we have our own politics. It separates us.
And what are those politics that separates independent whites versus, say, you know, the Nazi lowriders, which is a white car and feds?
Every gang has their own politics. So, I mean, you can't really say, okay, gang members specifically this and the independents specifically that, because every gang is going to have different rules.
Well, what were some of your politics versus, like, say, the Aryan Brotherhood? That's the big one.
Like with us, everything wasn't like, you know, you have these skinhead gangs where, like, you're not supposed to get high. You're not supposed to, you know, do business with other races. Like, you know, they have more strict policies because they come from state where that's a little different. I think a lot of that is a gray area in the feds now because the feds is more centralized around getting money. So everybody's trying to get some paper, and you have to do that with other races. Yeah. So it's a little different. A lot of those gang members, their politics kind of have changed a little bit somewhat on that sense. But like with us, like we don't have those discrepancies. Like we don't have, oh, you can't do this with this race. You can't get money with them. You can't, you know, all these different things. Like we don't have the same like level. And a lot of it's just petty shit, you know. But with us, it's just like be there when you're called, you know, live a clean life, be respectful, and don't be over there, you know, eating, smoking, drinking, and working out with other races, you know. And that's just basically it. Besides that, you know, live your life, you know, go in there, program if you want, whatever. Like, you know, it's not like you're forced to do these things. Oh, you're going to put in work. Here's a weapon. Like, no, you're going to put in work, do it how you want. You know, like, it's just a different type of thing. And like I said, every car, every race, every gang, they all have their own politics. But that's just with us.
So then independent whites, this is the first time I've ever heard about that. So is that the nomenclature? Is that how you're referred to when you're in the facility?
Right.
Like, I know he's independent.
Right.
He's an independent white.
Right. So that's where the confusion is, because a lot of people, they hear independent and they think, oh, you don't run with anybody. But that's not the case. An independent, like, we're us. We're all independents. We run together. We have each other's backs. Like, we run our program just as if, you know, one of these gangs runs their program. That's how we run our program, too. So there's that confusion because a lot of state systems, people refer to, I'm independent, as if they don't run with anybody.
Yeah.
Like, for some reason, I think in some of those states, they can kind of do what they want if they run independent. That's kind of the impression that I get from talking to people on social media when I get some pushback. Is like independents in other states can eat with whoever, work out with whoever, but nobody has their back. They're kind of just like on their own. But in the feds, it's a different thing.
So at USP Victorville, there's no non-affiliates. Everybody's rolling with a car.
Right. Everybody has a car.
Yeah.
Everybody has to abide by whatever their politics are for that car. There's no, like, you go to the chow hall and this is just a table for, You know, people who don't want to be affiliated. Like, no, you're going to be affiliated with somebody.
You're going to mind somebody.
Right. No, that's just what it is.
Now, putting in work, you said that the independents also do that or have to do that. Can you go into detail? Can you describe?
So mandatory, everybody's doing a removal, at least. So when somebody hits the yard who can't be there, or somebody breaks politics, somebody does something, somebody's running up debt, somebody's causing some friction between another race, another car, and they can't be there because that friction is going to cause the whole car to crash out. So you got to remove the issue. So this person's got to go, or this person has a bad jacket, they did something at the last yard, they checked in, whatever the situation is. You send 2 people, 3 people, just depends on, you know, how big they are, how with the business, you know what I mean? It's like nobody's bigger than the car. You know, you can send 10. His UFC fighter stepped in. He can't be here. He's lethal. Well, the whole car's got to go. You know what I mean? It's just, it doesn't matter who you are. You know, there's enough bodies, enough people to get you out of there. So mandatory, everybody has to do that.
Okay. So when it's time to go take somebody out, you stomp them out, whatever, book them or something with a knife.
Like I said, everybody gets to make that decision. When it comes to weapons and knife play, there's plenty of people who got their hands up, so it doesn't matter. But when there's a removal, like, you're not forced to do it how somebody wants you to do it. Like, okay, I'm going to do a removal. I'm just going to beat the hell out of this dude. You know, put on a good demo and move on. Go to the shoe. I'll see you guys in a month. Like, this is what it is.
Yeah, you mentioned that off camera, putting in a demo.
Right.
And that's like the stereotype that people who have no idea about prison, they're like, oh yeah, you got to beat somebody's ass on the first day.
Yeah.
But you're actually saying that is true at a place like USP. You got to demonstrate.
Yeah, you want to put down a demo so that people watch it and say, bruh, I don't want no problems with that dude. Like, you know, and so that's kind of the situation, not only within your car, but also other cars. You want them to see, like, okay, white boys are with the shit. Like, you know what I mean?
That doesn't lose respect when you like take off on somebody in front of a whole bunch of other inmates. Usually a guard sees that. Is that not looked upon as like, oh, that's like an easy way out? Right. Like he's doing that so he doesn't have to go try to kill somebody. He's doing it. He's doing it demonstrably because he knows the guards will break it up and he goes to the hole. Like, you don't lose any respect for that?
No, because you try and do it in a place where the officers are not at.
Right.
But you can't stop until the officers make you. So, you know, you can lure somebody to the corner of the soccer field as far away from the guard tower in the middle of the yard as you can. You know, there's all different places and ways that, you know, okay, an officer is going to give me a good 30 seconds or so, you know, before it's called in, before they all run to wherever the action's at. You know, you can't do that in front of an officer because that's a check-in move. Like, no, you have to put it down. Right. You have to take the mace to the face.
Right.
You know, that's all part of the initiation somewhat, is, you know, if you want to call it that. But yeah, you're not doing that shit in front of a cop. Like, because if you do, that's your ass when you get out of the shoe.
That is a check-in move, like taking off on somebody at the chow hall.
Right, in front of a cop or whatever. You know, like, people are gonna look at that like, this pussy. Like,
something's fishy. We got to look into him because he did that, so they'd take him to the hole.
Right.
Okay. How long after you got to Victorville did you have to do your demo?
It took me about 8 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's not an immediate thing. You know, there's plenty of people coming and going from there.
How do you choose your spot? Do you basically wait for a genuine beef with somebody and then say, "Oh, this is my demo"?
Because if you got a beef with somebody, you just go in the cell and handle it. Like, you're not supposed to be out on the tier. You know, whatever personal issues or beefs that you have, that's not what that's meant for. Like, sometimes, obviously, shit flies off the handle. You got people with impulse control issues, along with the addictions and the shit.
Psychopathy.
Right. So
sociopathy.
Right. The politics
nothing to live for.
Sound good, but it doesn't always work out like that. With the other shit, it's the wheel of misfortune. You know what I mean? You got people in the unit, people get off the bus, whatever. Like, you might just get somebody off the bus who's up and it's your turn. You know, you might have a unit that hasn't got somebody up for a long time, so you haven't had to do anything in that unit for a minute. You know, a lot of the times that's just the way it plays out. Or somebody has up and they're like, look, we're gonna make you put in work because you up over here and did something you weren't supposed to do. You know, there's a lot of factors that play into it. So when you get there, everybody's name's on the list to go. You know, it's just, you might be 3 days after you get there, you might be 8 months like me. You know, some people it takes longer. It just depends on the action.
Yeah. So did you get tapped for your demo? Like, did your car come to you and say, "Hey, you got to go handle this. It's your time"?
It works. Yeah, okay. They just, you know, like, hey, it's time to go. All right, well, let me pack my shit up and put it over in my homeboy's cell.
Yep.
So that way, when they take me to the SHU and I come back, all my shit is here. You know, the cops didn't finger all of my property, and it's just waiting for me. You know, and then, you know, you have yourself a cool spread. You shave because you're not going to shave for a while, and you know, you just wait for it and you get busy. So
do you ask why?
You want it to be righteous. You know, at the end of the day, when the call is made, there's not much you can do about it. But I feel like most people generally want to know, like, okay, that was a righteous hit. Like, this dude had it coming. So, you know, of course you want to know why.
Okay. So
you know
in your case?
Yeah, you know, I wanted to know, like, you know, he was a crash dummy for sure. He was with the business, but, you know, he'd been removed from a few yards. He'd been down like 17 years. So,
what do you mean by a crash dummy? Like, what do you mean?
Well, you know, a lot of people bounce around the system because they just can't get it right. Like, and usually it's from addiction. They just do faulty ass shit and continuously, like, oh, he did this. We had to smash him off the yard because he broke politics on this shit, you know, and a lot of it stems from addiction. A lot of people, I never wrap my mind around the fact that addiction could cost you your life. You know, it's nothing to play with, and people still played with it. So, you know, it's up because usually the people that you have to do that to are people that you're cool with. You know what I mean? It's somebody you've been in the unit with, you've broke bread with, like, you know, worked out with, you know, maybe had some standoffs, like all these things. So, you know, you build those bonds through struggle. And when you stand next to somebody in those situations, you know, you're going to have a bond. Yeah. So,
and it's the same race always, right?
Right.
Like, it's not like a white guy is going to be doing a demo or removing a black guy.
No.
Like, the blacks handle the blacks, right. Hispanics, whites.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha. So this guy that you removed, he just violated. It's not like he had bad paperwork.
No. He was a good dude. Like I said, he was with the business. Like, you know, he'd had like some, I mean, he had some pretty crazy shit on his jacket, stabbings and shit like that. So, I mean, everybody knew, like, when the chips were down, he would be there. But at the same time, like, we can't make an exception for you. Like, you've broke policy, so you got to go.
What did he do? How did he break policy?
It was over a tattoo motor with another race. It's been so long. Something to, shit, I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was a tattoo artist who had got a tattoo motor. It was something to do with a tattoo motor. That's all I know. I can't remember. Something to do, like, he didn't pay for it or something, or sold it to, I don't remember the exact details, but, you know, if you don't keep your word in those situations, like, that's usually what it is. Yeah. I look you in the eye as a man. I tell you, I'm going to pay you on this day. And that's what people don't understand. It's like, you hear people say, oh, he lost his life over a cigarette. No, he lost his life because he looked at another man in the eye and said, I got you on this day, and didn't. All of the shit that goes on is usually surrounding something like that. You look a man in the eye, you shake their hand, and then you and people don't like that, you know. It's about the respect. It's not about whatever the property or situation was.
Right.
And so, I mean, really, that's what it boiled down to, you know. And
yeah. We're gonna clip that soundbite. You look a man in the eye, you shake his hand, and then you f him. That's how it's done. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, so it's the breaking of your word, and word is bond. I do understand that from my time down. Okay. So, and he obviously doesn't know it's coming.
Right. So he's coming out of the shoe. He's got no idea. It's a crazy thing because a lot of the times people go to the shoe and then everything comes out. Like they're not there, and all of a sudden everybody wants to be like, "Oh, he did this, he did that." You know what I mean? So they're not around,
right?
And everybody knew he was getting out. Sometimes they stay in the shoe. They, put word out like, "Hey, he's no good. He gets hit while he's in a cage in the shoe." Well, he was coming out, so it was like 3 days before Thanksgiving. They tell me and one of my other dudes, he's a California dude. They pull up on us, "Hey, it's time to go." When he gets in the unit, handle your business, try and get him like in a corner or something, away from where the cops are at, and handle your business. So I pack up all my shit. I'm sitting in the unit, like, I'm ready. I'm having my last meal every night thinking this dude's coming. I'm living out of my bags. I'm standing up on the top tier. I'm looking out because I can see when the dudes are coming out of the shoe. I have a bird's eye view, and this dude has a giant swastika on the top of his head. So I know who the he is. The minute he walks out that door, I'm like, okay, there he is, Right before the holidays, they do a lot of shoe kickouts because they're trying to clean the shoe out, give it enough space. They can all go on vacation. And when the action pops off during the holidays, they got room to just put these dudes in there. So I'm sitting there for like 3 days waiting for him. I see him coming down the walk. I go and get my buddy. I'm like, "Hey, he's here. So just be ready, He's like, "All right." So he gets into the unit. He walks. We're kind of over in the corner. He walks over to dap everybody up. And the minute he daps up my buddy takes off on him. So I jump right into action too. And we're kind of behind the stairs. So we're giving it to him pretty good, kneeing him and shit. And it takes a minute for the officers, they hear the squeaking of the shoes, the silence, like everybody knows what that means. So they come running out, you got to take that pepper spray bath. So you go until they make you stop. I get hit with the pepper spray. I go down. My dude's still giving it to him. They hit him. When they hit him, I get up and I try to kick him. They get me again. They get us all down, and, there's pepper spray everywhere. They cuff us up. I can't see a thing. My hand is broken. I end up having to have surgery on my hand. Damn. They take us to the shoe.
And they took his ass back to the shoe, right?
Yeah.
So that's the cold part about prison.
Right.
You get your ass beat,
right.
And nope. You still got to go.
Was like, cloud nine. Yeah, I'm out for Thanksgiving. Like, he's thinking he's having a good meal in the unit. No, it didn't work out like that for him. Yeah. So they take us back there.
You must have f***ed him up if you broke your hand.
Yeah, we got him pretty good. Like I said, you kind of, you want that to leave an impression. You know what I mean? You want people to think like, okay, he's going to go. And when he goes, he's going to go hard.
Did they charge you for the surgery?
No, they...
on your hand?
I was back in the shoe for about a month. That was even a crazier situation because you can't duck rec. You have to go to rec every day. You're in these cages. His cousin was in the shoe. His cousin was a high-ranking gang member for a gang that I'm not going to talk about. But
come on, dude.
So I had to go back there. His brother or his cousin had earned his bones on another yard. He had killed somebody over on the East Coast, so he was a known killer. So I'm back in the shoe. Like, now I got to go out to yard with a broken hand. Right. Can't duck rec. If they put me in the cage with this dude, I know what he's capable of.
Okay, can you explain to people what that situation is when you're in the shoe going to rec in the cages? So you're exercising in those big cages?
Right.
And they put you in there with somebody else?
So they have the cages in the feds are 4-man cages, and they're going to put you back there with your race or with us, we'll go back there with Southsiders too. So sometimes they'll mix us in with them. But other than that, they're not going to put us in a cage with another race unless they're just playing games. Because if they do that, you're supposed to take off on them immediately.
Right. Why do the whites and the Southsiders, do they have like some kind of truce?
It's just, so in the feds, the politics will always change depending on who has the yard. In Victorville, it's a California yard, so it's heavily influenced by the California politics. In the California state, the Southsiders and the whites run together. So because of that, it bleeds into the federal system, and a lot of that correlates. Not always, but a lot of the times. So they understand that, politics is no secret. The guards understand it. Administration understands it. Everybody on the yard understands it. So it functions in that way. At times they'll even put whites and Southsiders in a cell together on the yard, so.
And that's allowed. That's cool.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Got it. So it comes from the state system.
Right.
And bleeds into the feds.
Right.
Gotcha.
So I'm back there, and they ended up putting me in a cage next to him. And he was a pretty level-headed dude, He was like, look, bro, I understand my cousin's a knucklehead. I love him, but he crashes out all the time. You know what I mean? I understand you did what you had to do, and it doesn't got to go any further than that. So, he was super cool. Whether or not he was just spinning me, who the knows, but a lot of the times those dudes hit the yard and they don't even allow them on the front line. So they just keep them in the shoe and then ship them to the next spot. Sometimes they let them out. I don't really know what. It's all dependent on administration. Do we want to deal with this dude? We know he's a maniac, whatever. You know what I mean? Sometimes they let him out. Sometimes they don't. Well, they weren't going to let him out. So he ended up getting shipped.
Right. Were you aware, did those people that had bodies inside a prison, that had killed people in prison, did they have a reputation around their yard? Like, hey, you better
it's
remember,
a crazy
stay
thing,
away from him.
Because you meet dudes that got bodies, and in your mind, it's like this mythical giant. You know what I mean? You're like, this dude has that in him. He's capable. So in your mind, you build that up. Like, he's something like inhuman almost. And then you meet these dudes, and a lot of them are just genuine, real dudes that just, for whatever reason, chose that life. So it's crazy to sit down with some of these people and look them in the eye and really get to know them on a personal level, because, like, we're all affected by the same things, kids. Like, that's the one thing that I noticed. Like, these dudes doing all day who have pretty much gave up that fight of going home and have decided, okay, this is my life, this is my kingdom, like, this is what I'm doing. They're still affected by that, so you see the human side and you have like empathy, and you understand, like, okay, like, yeah, these dudes are wild, but they're no different than me and you.
Right. When you say kids, you mean they're affected by them missing their children?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Still, it is pretty wild to kill somebody in general, but definitely in prison. You know what I mean? It's with a knife and up close. It's it's not like shooting somebody from a mile away. It's it's not easy to stab somebody to death either, I don't think.
Right, and not only that, it's
like you got to really hit them.
People kill people trying to get away with it. In prison, there's no getting away with it. So, you've pretty much just said, "Fuck it, I don't even care anymore." Like, I know this is what it is. I know I'm going to get charged. I know I'm going to the shoe. I know I'm going to have all these repercussions, and that's the choice that they make.
Can they, even in the feds, you can't get away with stabbing somebody?
So even stabbings, like, it's not, for whatever reason, the feds are pretty forgiving about violence. I know when I was in state, I went to the hole, and I was back there with the dudes that were been back there for years. In the feds, they don't do that. You put in work, you're right out. I mean, you use a knife, a lock, or whatever. They might keep you back there for an extra like month or something.
Yeah.
Threaten to charge you, investigation, maybe 2 months, you know, maybe ship you, maybe just let you right out. But even like catching bodies in the feds, it's still, you know, you're not going to catch a life sentence behind that. You know, it's
real.
Yeah.
Wow.
So for whatever reason, I don't know what cultivated that, but you know, they're pretty forgiving about the violence that happens in the feds.
Did any bodies drop while you were at Victorville?
You know, I saw a lot of steel ran up in people. As far as just seeing somebody dead, you know, there was a couple deaths while I was there. It wasn't anything up close and personal that I saw, but, you know, people got killed.
You saw people get stabbed with like a bone crusher?
Yeah, people get stabbed. Like, you know, that's just a part of those environments.
Does it happen on the yard? Does it happen in more isolated places, like where people go to work, or you know, like corner, like cuts?
Yeah,
blind spots and shit. The shower.
It just depends on the situation. You know, some people, you know, might really have a bone to pick, and they're trying to get them good and catch them slipping in a corner somewhere where they know they're going to be able to get away with a lot more. Sometimes it's just more of a warning shot where they hit somebody with a knife that's not as big that they know is not going to kill them, but it's just basically saying I could have, you know?
Right.
So it just, every situation is different.
Look at them. Did you have to carry something on you?
Yeah, it's, most people in a USP are going to have a knife. If you're not carrying it, you know where to get it from. Like you have one hidden, you know, whether it's in your cell unit, out on the yard, like everybody has a weapon that's available to them.
Were there metal detectors going out to the yard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's metal detectors in every unit. In most, you know, going into like education, rec, like they have metal detectors on most spots in the yard.
Yeah, it doesn't stop that much though, right?
No, hell no. No, you walk into those cells and you already know what time it is. You know, when I got into that unit, you know, the first thing I noticed in my cell was there's a sharpening stone next to the toilet. Like every cell has a groove in the concrete next to the toilet. Like that's where you sharpen your piece at. You know, you lay down at night, and if you're not in your thoughts deep enough, you can hear people cutting out their lockers. You just hear that.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's a part of that program.
Was there somebody selling them? Like, is there a trade? Like, is there a market for like good shanks?
If a race sells a knife to another race, it's your ass, because that's potentially selling somebody a weapon that could use it against your people. So like that's a no-go. You're not doing that shit. But you know, every race has their own ways, or you know, it just. It's prevalent.
Were there any interracial problems while you were there?
Yeah, most of it was politicked out. There was a couple small riots within units that ended up getting politicked out afterwards. But you know, we had like a lot of standoffs. You know, that's a regular thing.
Can you tell us what a standoff is?
So if you have an issue with another race, and everybody's called out to the yard. You know, everybody's got to be there. You better be there, suited and booted, ready to go. You have all your guys on one yard, on one side of the yard, all their guys on the other side of the yard, and you're just waiting. You know, is this going to go down right now or not? You know, the reps, shot callers, whatever, come together. They try and figure it out. If they can't figure it out, then it goes down. But you know, most of the time, people in the USP understand the consequences of a situation like that. You know, people are going to walk away in a bloody way, and there's going to be bodies. So usually that shit, they want to politic it out. You know,
because there's real money on those big yards,
right?
Selling drugs.
I mean,
and
people want the peace for the most part.
Yeah.
Like people have a lot of business dealings going on. They have, you know, whatever they have going on, they don't want that to stop because some dude couldn't uphold their word or whatever the situation is.
Some guys on other race's TV,
right?
Whatever,
you know, dumb shit like that. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about the hustling in there. Did you have any money left when you went to USP?
So for me, my hustle was always gambling. Like that was, you run a sports ticket, like, people place bets, take their money. Like that's the best way, because the drugs left such a bad taste in my mouth. I didn't want anything to do with it. Like, I don't want to be affiliated or associated with any of that shit because I saw the repercussions. I felt it. You know what I mean? So, there's a lot of ways to get money. There's a lot of liquor. There's everybody has a hustle, whether it's tattooing, art, going into sales, building shelves and painting, stealing food out of the kitchen, bringing it back and cooking and selling food, hobby craft shit. Like there's a million ways to get money in prison. Everybody has a hustle.
Buying stamps,
buying
and reselling stamps.
Yeah, you got your storeman who gets all the commissary and then stores it out for stamps and then sells the stamps, gets more commissary. Like, it's like a microcosm of the real world in that way.
Do they also have Indians that run the stores? Sorry,
I couldn't help it. It wasn't that much of a microcosm.
Okay. Okay, so your shit was ran a sports book.
Right.
Okay.
Right. No, I liked it, because I've always been into sports. So for me, it wasn't like that far off of, I watch games. Yeah. I collect money. Like, I had a good time with it. It was cool. It supported me through my bid.
What did your car, were there drug addicts within... Like, I'm fascinated by how many people are on dope, especially in the feds. Like, heroin is big.
It's terrible. It's really not heroin, though. That shit is all those other drugs. That shit got pushed to the back by K2. That shit sprayed on paper coming from China. Wow. So you still see, like, real drugs. It's rare, though. Like, everything is synthetic. The synthetic drugs have system up completely. These people have been turned out by this shit. It's like crack. Wow. It's a sad situation because you see good dudes fall into that addiction and end up selling off all their shit and then getting smashed off the yard because they can't keep up with their habit and pay their debts. So, all that honor is slipping away.
It's just like the streets.
Yeah.
They're giving way to synthetics.
Yeah. No, the addiction, the synthetic, it ruined a whole demographic of people.
So they spray it on like whatever, envelopes, letters.
Yeah, just whatever. I mean, there's just, whatever you can think of. Anything that paper, that's what they're doing. So it's like.
And then you can literally sell it. And then do you have to extract it from the paper once it gets in?
No, people just smoke paper.
Wow.
It's a up situation, and it's never ending. Whenever there's money in play, like you can't do anything to stop it, so how it's getting in, where it's coming from, all these different things. Like I'm not going to go into any of those kind of specifics, but there's enough money being generated that people won't slow down. You
just told us at the beginning of the episode, guards were taking $8,000 for cell phones.
Yeah, cell phone. You know what I mean? So it's like,
they'll probably get you some K2 if you need it.
Right.
Right?
I don't know.
Probably, or, obviously cigarettes is huge, right? Maybe this guy won't bring in dope, but he'll bring in some cigarettes because there's a huge markup for cigarettes. And if he gets caught, it's not like getting caught with drugs.
Right. No, that's a fact. The cigarettes. Nobody's getting in trouble for that shit. So it's like, oh, you're just smoking a cigarette? I don't give a you know what I mean? Like, you don't got any drugs, that's all I care about.
Who had the yard for the majority of the time while you were at Victorville? What race?
So that's a misconception too, because a lot of people say, this race ran the yard. Like, there's no race that runs yards in the feds. It's not the way it works. People might have numbers on different yards because it's closer to whatever that area is, but in the feds, nobody's going to tell another race they have to do something. That's not the way it works. So there's like wilder cars, and sometimes they have higher numbers, which gives them a little more flex, but at the end of the day, nobody's going to tell another race, like, you guys have to do this, you guys have to do that. So everybody has their own politics, their own car. They run that show, and hopefully everybody can.
Well, who controlled the guards the most? Because usually it's based off the demographics, right? So if it's a super rural area, it's probably the white boys have the most sway with the guards because they're also these like skinhead leaning people. They might come from the same communities, but at Victorville it could be the Hispanics because they just know more people. They might know that they might have a more of a racial camaraderie with the guards. So like who had the most advantage when it came to leaning on a guard to bring in something or to do something? What race at Victorville?
I think that generally whites and Mexicans have more influence and more sway when it came to that. You're in Southern California. It's that's the birth of gang activity. Yeah. So a lot of these dudes, these high-powered dudes, they have a level of respect, not just from people in prison, but the people working at the prison. The whites and the Mexicans, Southsiders, that's their backyard. So they're always going to have a little more sway in how things are ran.
Poor blacks. Who do they have?
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of Bloods, a lot of Crips there. But the guards, they weren't, for whatever reason, they didn't really have a lot of black guards working there. You know what I mean? But that was the first time I'd ever been in a situation, because we're only like not even 10% of the population, and
the whites.
Yeah. So like our numbers are so small, but the blacks get locked up at such a high rate. Like everywhere in the feds is like they have these huge numbers, but they break themselves into all these smaller cars and shit, because they don't. These dudes, black dudes from Florida, aren't going to see eye to eye with the Crips from California because they run a strict, heavily politic program. Yeah. And these other dudes is just like the wild, wild west out there. They don't give a about anything. Anything goes, So, they splinter off, and like the TVs, you can tell just because they have so many TVs, but this is a Blood TV, this is a Crip TV. This is a Northeast TV. This is a South TV. You know what I mean? They splinter off into, Yeah,
it makes sense. All right. So you, after 4 years, did you have any close calls in terms of like either getting stabbed or having to stab somebody or whatever, catching another case?
No, there was for whatever reason, and I've asked myself why over the years. I've never found myself in those situations where it was like a life-threatening situation. You got to fight. That's just what it is. Somebody disrespects you, you go in the cell, you handle that. But, people will be like, okay, you want to use weapons? Are we going in there with knives? Like, what's the deal? Like, you talk about that.
Wow.
I was never in a situation where I had to go at somebody like that, thank God. And I always wonder why, because I didn't walk around with my head down. I wasn't like quiet by any means. I was out there making money, playing basketball with other races, like, in the unit. And I guess the only thing I can think of was I was respected enough that people kind of just didn't test me on that level, and I never tried to put me in a situation like that. And it's kind of weird, like, because a lot of people go through that kind of shit. I feel like addiction plays a huge part in that, but it's how you carry yourself, and I guess how I carried myself was enough for people to just look at me in a light, like, okay, like, he's a stand-up dude, he's gonna go. He has some honor and some respect about him, and that's just what it was.
It's pretty crazy, though, that before going into a cell to handle some shit, you guys talk it over. You're like, are we going fists or knives?
Yeah.
That's like some Bill the Butcher shit from gangs in New York.
No, it's like the real deal.
That's insane. Like, calmly.
Right. No, the Dark Ages type shit.
How far do you want to take this?
Right.
Because I'm willing to die.
Right.
I probably have like 100 years.
No, and it's real. Like, I remember hearing that shit too. I like, until you see it, you're just like, holy, you know, these dudes
Dark ages, bro.
These dudes are maniacs, bro.
Maniacs. Were you doing short time? Like, is a 12-year shot a pretty short compared to what those dudes got up there?
So the one thing I will say that helped me put shit in perspective was when I hit the yard, one of the first dudes I was talking to, I was just, you know, kind of up in my head, like, damn, all my dudes turned on me. You know, I took all this time. You know, I can say and justify and do all these things like, okay, my kid's mom went home. She's with my son. You know, I can hang my hat on that. But it was still a bitter pill to swallow, you know. And so I'm never whining, you know, and I hope I wasn't in this situation. But I'm telling the dude my story. And, you know, just nonchalantly, he says, yeah, I feel you, bro. I went to trial. All my dudes turned on me too. You know, I got 50. And I was like, oh, you got 50 months? He's like, no, I got 50 years. I said, bro. I said, you're never going to hear me complain about shit again, and I apologize. Because this dude was positive, bro. He wasn't up. He wasn't bitter. He wasn't negative. He accepted it, you know, and it was just, that was it. He said it, like I said, nonchalantly. He wasn't mad at me. He was just letting me know, like, you know, it is what it is, bro. Like, we'll get through this shit. Right. Don't trip, you know?
Then that happened to me one time, and you feel like such an asshole.
Right.
Like, I'm so sorry.
Right.
I'm such a bitch. I'm so pampered and spoiled.
Right,
I'm
you know,
complaining.
you just feel like a but you're just like, if this dude can get up every day, put his feet on the floor and be the same dude that he is right now, like, who the am I to complain about anything? Excuse. Right.
Yeah. I did that when I was in county jail. And this OG who actually went to my high school, but he graduated like 15 years before I did. And I was like, you know, I'm down bad. You know what I mean? I'm looking at like 5 to 7. The feds want to pick the case up. He's like, dude, I've been fighting a death penalty case in here for 3 years. I was like, oh shit, here's my dessert, bro.
All right. No.
Damn, that's gonna get me killed if I complain to the wrong. You know,
right.
I mean? That's a safety thing too. Like, you don't ever talk about your time. Right. Try not to, unless you really know somebody like that. You know what I mean?
No, when you get close with people, it's a different thing. Yeah. But just to be out there like that, because you just never know who you're talking to. You know?
Yeah, they want to go home too.
Right.
So when you got shot out of Victorville, you went where?
I went to Hurlong. So I flew up to Northern California. It's right outside of Reno. They bust me in there. I won't lie to you. I didn't believe them when they said I was leaving, because, you know, usually white boys don't leave the pen. It's hard for us to get out.
Why is that? Can you explain why that is?
It's just because we catch shots. Like, we're getting write-ups all the time. But, you know, when COVID happened, they didn't want to come into our cells. We were only getting out 4 cells at a time. They weren't bringing buses. Nobody was coming out of the chute. So there was no action. You weren't putting in work. Right. They weren't coming into your cell to search. It was pretty crazy. You know, everybody's just in there partying, like just trying to ease the pain. We're just drinking. You know what I mean? Just anything we can do to
just like we were on the streets.
Right.
We're just
no, it was just
drinking.
like, what the, you know, we're just fishing liquor down the tier. It was crazy. People were lighting their cells on fire, just like as a cry for help. You know, mental health issues were just rampant. But because of that, I almost didn't make it out, though. You know, I feel blessed that I did. But when COVID was going on, they weren't giving us showers. They weren't giving us phone calls. You know, we had to do something, but I knew I was getting out because my case manager had come like, hey, when they start opening travel up again, you're leaving. You know, your last shot finally fell off. You turned 36. Your points finally dropped. You're going to go to an FCI. Well, we had to buck on them, you know, and it's a thing because, you know, you don't ever want to show weakness. You know, I'm getting ready to leave. They're not giving us the showers. All my guys are, you know, first we're denying trays. Like, that's not working. They don't care if we starve in here. Like, we want our phone calls. We want our showers, whatever. So we're like, yeah, I guess we're going to board up on them. You know, you board up on them. Usually you get a shot for group demonstration. They come in, they just start kicking ass. They pick a few random cells. They just go in there and start kicking ass and hope everybody in the unit loses heart. Because when you board up, it's a security thing. They got to walk around and count. But if you put something over your window, they can't see in there. They don't know what the is going on. So everybody in the unit's boarded up. I'm like, well, there goes my transfer, you know, because you can't be the only one not boarding up. You know, if the unit boards up and you don't, it's your ass when those doors open. So, you know, I'm just thinking, well, there it goes. You know, there goes the FCI again. Finally, they come through. They call some of us out. What can we do to, like, mitigate the situation? Let's come to terms. We go through that a couple times, and every time I'm just like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it out of here. And for whatever reason, they had some type of empathy or, you know, I don't know what it was. They didn't know what to do, you know. Obviously, the world didn't know what to do when COVID happened. So the prison system really had no clue. And it was no different than, like, governors of states running their states differently from COVID. It was all, like, political bullshit. And whatever the warden leaned, you know, Republican or Democrat, he was following that line. So, like, a lot of the wardens were a lot looser. You know, ours was lock them down. Like,
which was California. Yeah, everything was locked down. Very extreme.
So, anyways, I navigate that without getting a shot. And they open up the doors. They say, hey, pack your shit up. You're going over to a unit over here with a bunch of dudes that are getting ready to leave too. So, you know, I'm happy. Like, I'm out of here. I'm going to a FCI, thinking in my head, right? But at the same time thinking, no, I'm not. You know, a lot of the times, like, because I had a little bit of influence when I left, if you have some type of influence, a lot of times they'll ship people for political influence. They'll say, we don't want you here anymore. We're going to send you to another USP. So I didn't really believe it, but I wanted to believe it. And they put me in this unit, and then I get over there, and then I figure out, okay, well, now I'm over here with all these dudes waiting to leave, and I'm looking up, and it's all a bunch of dudes that checked in or got smashed off the yard. Well, you got me in this unit now, and if you let me out with one of these dudes, I have to take off on him. It's mandatory, because if I'm around this dude and I don't, then I'm no good. So you guys are with my life. And luckily, I skate through that because they keep everybody separated. Everybody on this side's good. Everybody on that side's bad. They keep us separated, you know. It's just a lot of stress to deal with. But I finally get on a plane. They fly me up there. Atwater's another USP up there, so I'm thinking they're going to take me to Atwater. They take the Atwater bus out of there. I'm like, it's not Atwater. And then they put me on the Hurlong bus. And I'm like, you know, I think I made it. And still, until I get to that gate, I'm like, these are playing a sick joke on me. I know it. And I finally get off the bus at Hurlong, and I'm in an FCI. I'm in a medium, and it's a world of difference, you know. A lot of people in the camp don't want to go to the low. You know, the low doesn't want to go to the FCI. FCI doesn't want to go to the pen. But the FCI and the USP difference is a world of difference. So
it's almost like they're two prison systems. Like the relief of leaving a USP is almost like you're being freed.
No, for sure.
Even though you're still incarcerated.
For sure. Like, no, you want to jump for joy. Like, it's 1 million pounds of stress lifted off your chest. You're just like, holy.
You're like, I don't have to have a knife everywhere.
It's just a whole different world, you know?
A lot of drugs in FCI.
It's just, I mean, I think it gets looser as you go lower into custody. You know, the pen is so tight, like, you know, it's concrete walls and shit. You don't ever see, like, you know, in the FCI, it's fencing, visitings are more lax, like, you know, cops are loose. It's just a whole different world.
Okay, so, and then that's how you finished out. And that brings us to now 2024.
Right.
And then you just got out of the halfway house. You honored us with your presence after only a few months, which is cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate the stop on your podcast tour. What's your tail like? How long do you have?
I got 3 years. They just changed the law that said you can get off in a year. So I'm hoping, I've never had like a dirty UA. That's usually what they're worried about is people that relapse, addiction's rampant. So I'm hoping that, mind my P's and Q's, no dirty UAs, whatever, I can get off in a year.
Yeah.
That's the hopes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm sorry about all the time you had to do.
Yeah.
Well, you semi-deserved it. You were out there, getting a lot of money.
Right.
But damn, that it really is. It was not a smooth way to go to prison.
No.
You know what I mean? Some people it blew me away. Like some stories, guys would pop up in the penitentiary. Like, yeah, I took the train here. Like, how guys that bail out and then they plead guilty.
Self-surrender.
Yeah, and then they just go self-surrender. I'm like, that must be so nice. I got shot. I got the black box and the gray goose. And the guy getting his brain bust on the chain next to me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, so I get that story. I empathized with.
No, I think at the end of the day, we go through a lot of things that build the character that we have. People ask if I have regrets. It's hard to sit here and say I live life without regrets, but you also have to take the good with those, those experiences build you up. Mm-hmm. When I first went in, I wasn't going to change. I already had it set in my mind. The minute I hit those streets, I'm off and running. As painful as that extra 12 years was, I needed that because that shifted my perception. It gave me a different level of gratitude, a different level of hunger, discipline.
Yeah.
Was it overkill? Maybe a little bit. Mm-hmm. But, who's to say where I would have been if it wasn't that,
Sure. Have you seen any of those guys, or do you keep up any of the dudes that turned on you, ratted on you? Do they know you're home?
So they definitely know I'm home. It's a crazy thing for me because I can't wrap my mind around why some of these dudes would reach out. Like, yeah, you moved on with your life. I lived in that hell every day. So I woke up thinking about that. I don't know why you would think that I want to associate with somebody who did that to me. If you could feel how I felt, you wouldn't even reach out to me. But some of those people have definitely reached out to me on social media. I got nothing to say. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense.
Let it lie, dude. Don't give them the satisfaction. They want you to say, oh man, I forgive you. Right. And even if you do forgive them, which I think you should, but that's for you. Don't give them the satisfaction. Let them live with that for the rest of their lives. That's what I say.
But why do you think I should forgive them?
Because forgiveness is for you. It's letting go of the past. It's really not. And again, you could just internally forgive.
Right.
It's like a bitch that cheated on you. You don't have to call and say, I forgive you.
Right.
You could still let her live in the pain of it, of the guilt of it. But that's how you move on for yourself. So it's a selfish thing. And it's a good thing.
I think I earned the right to be selfish.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro.
I think I need to hold on to that because I did a lot for other people. I think it's about me. It's about maybe mending some relationships and getting my life back. So I think I deserve the right to be selfish in this aspect for sure.
Well, then do you. Whenever you think the time is right, or you just hold on to it. It's okay.
Right. No, I'm just curious because a lot of people have said that, and I think about it. But like you said, I don't want to give them that. Like, I'm not going to make you feel better.
Don't massage their guilt. Don't give them any quarter. You know what I mean? Don't reach out. Don't, they're rats and you, it's like, that's what you will be. So just let them be that.
Right.
They have to live with that.
Right.
You're the one that ultimately won. Right. So then don't give them a victory.
Right.
This is my opinion.
No, I definitely like that. I like that approach. It still blows me away. But yeah, it's about me. It's about my personal growth. And I might hold on to it for a little while longer.
Sure.
But
why not?
At the end of the day, I know I got to let go eventually. I think that'll come with finding my groove in life and kind of figuring out who I am, where do I want to go, and how do I want to do this. So,
well, where can people get your merch?
Yeah, so
look at that hat, that CCE.
CCE, my indictment. So I got a hat brand, hoodies, shirts. It's on my social media pages, Aaron Peila and Peilaroni on TikTok. That's Peila is my last name, and then Roni, Roni.
Yeah, we'll put all the links in the description of the episode. But yeah, you're doing good on TikTok.
Yeah, I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I really take pride in it only because there's a lot of prison content creators that make content for like the curious. I try to speak for people who have been through the fire like me. And I get a lot of DMs from dudes in prison who are still in there doing life sentences, doing all this shit.
They'll probably see this episode. That's the majority of my fans.
For real? No, that's badass.
Seems like it.
That's badass.
Seems like it.
But it's just cool because sometimes I'll be like, why the are you on TikTok posting about prison? And then I get messages like that, like, hey, bro, we appreciate you speaking about the realities that we go through, you know, because it's real to us and you give us a voice. So I take pride in that. You know, I definitely want those dudes who feel like they're lost and forgotten and don't have a voice to feel like they have somebody speaking for them. Yeah. Good. Well, boys, if you're listening in Victorville, my heart goes out to you. You know what I mean? I really does, you know, whatever you did. So, Aaron, thank you so much, buddy. This was like an unexpected treat. I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know your content. But you know, you got at me and I took a chance and this really worked out. This was a lot of fun. I hope so. I appreciate you having me. All right, you guys, Aaron Peila, go check out his TikTok. Go buy, that merch is fire. I'm going to go buy a hat and support hats, shirts, hoodies. All of those links will be in the description. We'll see you next time. Take care.